Bigger, better, bolder. The cold, hard truth is taking talk to the next level. Right here on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's Community Radio. We are still spilling the tea and committed to being part of the change that Cayman so desperately needs. Join Sandy Hill weekdays from 7:30 a.m. for Premier Access, Cayman Voices, Truthful Thursdays, and much more. Cayman's #1 talk show is now bigger, better, bolder, and more than talk. Getting results with hot topics, consumer reports, court exposés, and more.
I've come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold, hard truth.
Now, from the CMR studio in Grand Cayman, live, direct, it's the cold, hard truth. Now, join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
That number again is
345-936-2626.
Good morning, Cayman. Happy hump day. My goodness, a frog just got me. Happy hump day Wednesday. How is everyone doing this beautiful Wednesday morning? I'm making sure in my brain I'm keeping track of the days correctly. You know how it is when you started back at school. Did you ever have those dreams as a kid where you woke up late and you missed the school bus and then, you were late for school or whatever? Yeah. Anxiety. I got to make sure I don't miss the plane for my vacation. Just in case those you go, well, where's Sandy going? Where does she really want to make sure that she goes? Yeah. Catching flights, not feelings, as they say. My apologies. Oh my goodness. Froggy is in the house today. Hello, Miss Froggy. Everybody good? Yes. All right. Sending out the links. Give me a second. I just did the channel. There's so many of you who still don't follow the channel. And I know this because you're sending me questions and you're like, oh, Miss Sandy, where is this and where's that? I'm like, in the channel. Oh my goodness. Sorry. So I know had you been following the channel, you would know what's going on. Yes, you would. All right. Follow the channel. If you need the link, send it to me. The benefit of the channel is you basically get everything in one location, right? All of the social media posts. When we go live, you get the links for that. You get everything. So it just makes life easier for you. Look at me trying to make your life easier. What do you say to that? Yeah, there we go. Anyway, thank you so much for waking up with me, turning on that dial. We do have a lot to talk about this morning. Someone called me yesterday and they said that there was a caller on Radio Cayman who was really upset at Elio and Austin for being rude to someone who didn't agree with their position on the whole fishing license thing. Apparently, Elio is not in agreement with it. So, oh, we got somebody calling. Hold on one second. Let's see who's calling. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, dear.
I'd like my deepest condolence to Deborah Cole and a family for the passing of Margaret that passed away.
Oh,
my deepest condolence.
Oh, when did she pass away? I didn't even know.
She passed away yesterday morning. Aunt Margaret passed away yesterday morning.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And that's the Gold family.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, dear. Oh, wow. I had
Okay, bye-bye.
yeah, I had not heard about that one. So yes, let's join Miss Lucille in expressing our sincere condolences. Oh, yeah. Mm. We don't have any details. We don't know if it was sudden, if they were sick. You know, sometimes it's just such a shock because you weren't expecting it at all. My goodness. All right. Condolences to the family. So, yes, I was saying, my apologies, that someone had called, and I don't really have time to listen to the other shows. Sometimes people will send me like clips and stuff. Someone sent me one of John the other day, yesterday I think it was, that kind of made me chuckle as well. But they said that they are being rude to a caller because he didn't agree with their position. So of course, there's probably nothing this government is going to do that they're going to see any positive in. And so they're against the fishing ban, the proposed, I should say, fishing ban. And so I said, well, that's so interesting. So the caller then turned around and called Radio Cayman to complain about them. I was like, that's so funny. So I haven't heard the clip yet. Someone was going to try to find it for me because I didn't have any luck. And I certainly wasn't going to spend 2 hours listening to them. So thank you, ma'am, my water. I appreciate it. So, no, Zeus has to go and get walked. Go on, Zeusy. Go walk outside. Outside. He knows the word outside. Yes. So I must say that the only thing that surprised me about that, I'm not surprised that they're rude to callers, but the bit that does surprise me is they get so few callers that I would have thought they would have been happy to have any sort of an opinion, whether it doesn't matter what the person's saying, just to have a caller. Fellas, behave yourselves. Don't show all of your true colors, because then Caymanians are going to realize what a mistake they made putting you in elected office years ago. Try to maintain some degree of decorum. Your show is nothing without your listeners. That's what made me think of this story this morning. And I appreciate you guys calling into the program and interacting the way in which you do. I know some of you, when you call in, some of the listeners are like, oh, God, him again or her again or whatever. But you know what? I'm like, listen, they're the ones who make the show interesting. Those of you who silently listen, I know you're listening and I know you're watching, but, if nobody was calling in, how boring would it be just listening to me all day? So I thank all the callers who call in. Now, that doesn't mean you should call me 20 times a day. I mean, there is a limit, and sometimes the listeners are like, oh, God, can you tell them don't call 3, 4, 5 times an episode? I've never really said that, but I think that in all fairness to our listeners, you have to know that, yes, you have a contribution to make and we appreciate the contribution, but you probably shouldn't overdo it. Like, have one thing to say, take a couple minutes. You don't have to have a 20-minute long conversation. Give other people a chance just in case. But we do appreciate you calling in nonetheless. And yeah. So I had a night of foot pain. Oh, Lord, take the bus. All night long, I had on my TENS machine. It only goes for an hour, and then I have to restart it. So last night was not a good night. And it was concentrated like in the toe region, which is really hard. When the pain is referred in that area, it's difficult because the TENS machine doesn't really work well on toes per se. So I have to put it on the ball of the foot where I know the pain is really coming from. And then what I do is I turn it up really high. And then that, hopefully reaches the toe region. But yeah, it was a rough night. I got to admit that I did not sleep well. I had a really rough night because every hour on the hour as my machine went off, because it does buzz when it goes off, I would have to restart it. So I'm kind of operating on a little bit less sleep today. So you guys will have to forgive me if I, seem a little bit out of it. Sleep is so important. And I know I don't get enough anyway, because I don't manage to go to bed before midnight. Since I've been taking this foot medicine, I think I've been sleeping more soundly when I'm not in pain. So I suppose that helps. Like I doze off and, for me, soundly means I'm not waking up 20 times a night. Maybe I'm waking up half that. I do wake up a lot during the night, I must tell you, for different reasons. Between bathroom breaks and I turn a lot. So I'm not a back sleeper normally. I did sleep a little bit at my back last night because of the foot pain. But normally I am a side sleeper and a tummy sleeper. So I tend to sleep more on my right side than anything. And then sometimes I'm like a baby. I will just sleep in my tummy. So it was a rough night. What can I tell you? I'm just putting on a little bit of lipstick here so I can look good for y'all this morning, because despite it being a rough night, you guys shouldn't have to pay the price of looking at me looking too rough. You know what I'm saying, honey chill? All right. So thank you so much for your ongoing support here. Received a lot of positive comments yesterday about all of the amazing things that we have lined up for CMR TV. Right now, I'm the holdup with the content creators, so I got to get to work today, uploading some stuff for them. And so on my long list of things I want to get done today, that's all the way at the top of the list for sure. So I will work diligently on that, because I know they're ready for me. They're like, we got episodes ready, honey chill. Let's get it. So yeah, I'm in the middle of, I don't want to share the news yet with you guys, but when it's completed, I'm going to tell you what it is that I have been working on and what I've got going on. So it's something good, but I want to wait until it's finito before I share the good news. All right. So blessed good morning to all of you listening on Bobo 103.1 FM and also on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and now CMRTV.com. So CMR TV has launched, but at the moment, it's just the 2 weekday shows. But soon it's going to be a fledgling. That's probably not the right word in this context, but a full schedule of content for your listening pleasure. Mm-hmm. Good morning to the usual suspects. I see you guys in class today. Miss Wee Wee Marshall says, it sounds like you're not well. I don't think you should go on vacation. Stay home and keep the show going. Oh, Marshall, I'm pretty sure that the formula to not feeling well is not to continue to work. It's probably to take a vacation. I like how you work that in there, though. My goodness. Anything to get me to stay and work, right? I feel you. I know it's hard, a whole week without me. OMG. But y'all are going to be just fine, honey. Chill. Take your vacation at the same time. Then we're all on vacation. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah. All right. Lala says, good morning. OMG, YouTube has ranking now. I'm number 1. What do you mean ranking? What kind of ranking? What does that mean? Number 1 for what? Hold on. Let me go to YouTube and check it out. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? Like it tells you when you're watching what number? Like what's the number for? Number 3 is Marshall. But what does it stand for? Number 2 is Exie Bush. Good morning, darling. I don't know what that means though. So top fans. Oh, let's look at this. Well, thank you for pointing this out. I didn't even know this. All right, let's check it out. Let me show you guys in real time. Wagwan. All right, this is me. Oh my gosh, look at my hair. I didn't even. Let me just comb my hair. This is how I comb my hair, folks. Just take it out and I do this. There, the hair is combed. What a mess. Y'all like Sandy. Girl. I didn't do any curlers. Hold on, honey chow. I'm coming to the phone call. Hold on. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
I need to turn you up. Hello, good morning.
So sad to wake up and hear right here this morning.
Yes.
You should know her, Sandra. She was right there close by your father, right next to Maringatown. That is Margaret McLean. She's Miss Malson's sister.
Oh, Miss Margaret.
Yes, that's who it is, Deborah.
Oh, no.
I talked to Deborah Bull that drive.
Oh.
Used to work airport with Freeport for years.
Oh, my God. She was my aunt's best friend.
Yes, and she was 99, November gone. She would have been 100 this year. She was birthday the other day. I said, poor Miss Margaret. And I had to hurry to hospital.
Yes. Oh, no. I didn't realize that who she was talking about because, she used to come and stay with us in Tampa, brought her little niece, grandniece, Amanda.
Her daughter was right there by the, and just had a, right there. That's who it is, Miss Margaret.
Oh, my gosh. I did not realize that's who Miss Lucille was talking about. Oh, recently I saw Mr.
I never heard her say nothing about nobody ever in my life.
I know.
She was a sweet soul.
I saw Mr. Oren Marin, and the last time I saw him, every time I see him, I always ask about Miss Margaret because she's one of those people that I really, really wanted to interview and never got around to it.
And kept that very good. She was always could always smell good, always look good. Miss Margaret was a nice person.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
That's who it is.
Thank you so much, Miss Shalma, for letting me know.
Yes, I was calling you because I was telling you when you were by the farm that FM people, because I have a yellow heart breadfruit, and my breadfruits, and I'm bragging, but everybody tell me them breadfruits are the best because it's a soft breadfruit. You know, some breadfruits that after it get cold, it's hard. But and they used to tell me that they're not breadfruit, they're footballs before the hurricane and messed the tree up. But they don't bear that big anymore. But I noticed the other day, these lower trees sprout out then I need them move because when I'm right, they're too close by my house. I think about like 5 out there. And Brent got one the other day when he bring me the plums back. People used to be asking me about trees years ago and plant had sprout up. But
and those are the yellow heart trees.
But it's about 3 or 4 out there. And they done their actual big trees, they don't catch. So I was saying if these people want them and they can come and get them because I hate to destroy them, you understand? But I don't have if they want them, since that girl said they want to plant more trees. And everybody wants the yellow heart. I don't know why, because my husband had said he didn't want no tree in his yard unless it was yellow heart. And we get it. A tree was ate down by every 4-foot animal that it has. We had to put Jericho walls around that for that to catch. And now, all of a sudden, because I got one some what do you call them? These mango, these little bananas.
The apple bananas, yes.
And one of them sprout. That's how I noticed it. Out there, and this one big one up amongst them, and that needs to come out. And the woman down the farm, I want them, but she not come. So if that guy want them, tell him and he can get somebody to come take them out. They're free to have them.
Okay. All right. Well, folks, Miss Shalma has some small trees, but don't take long for them to get big and start bearing fruit. So
well, the one by the house is way by the sucker is big. That I would say that that's me about maybe under my arm or higher, and I'm tall.
Okay. All right. So if anyone needs a yellow, what do you call them? Yellow heart, breadfruit. Yeah, they people say they taste better. So we have one in our yard as well. Thank you, Miss Shalman. Thank you for clarifying. Oh man, that really breaks my heart this morning. Oh my gosh. Of course I know Miss Margaret. All the original crew folks from, you guys know if you're a towner, we were like the Boilers Road, So this is the junction of Walker's Road, Boilers Road. So we were actually on Boilers Road. That's where my grandfather had all those apartments that are there now. That was all family land, honey child. Where Top Tree Restaurant, is it Top Tree Restaurant? What's the restaurant called again? Top Taste. All of that belonged to my dad, and even the little piece across the street where they parked the cars and stuff like that. So we were originally, my mother's house was down there on Hospital Road. So we're hardcore Georgetowners, central. But so Miss Margaret and my aunt were I would say they were best friends, child. They were back in the day before you had good cheaper phone options. They were still burning up the phone lines, calling each other, back when you had to call using AT&T or whatever. And she would, when I moved to the States, Miss Margaret would actually come during the summers and take vacation with my Aunt Lottie. And a couple times she brought her grandniece who was staying with her, Amanda. But boy, Amanda used to be getting me in trouble, honey child. Oh God. She was cute, so she got away with a lot. And I would be telling my aunt, you wouldn't let me get away with that. Like, she almost got us kidnapped one day in the mall. Some big grown ass man walking by, and she's like, oh, here's my number, and giving out my aunt's number. I'm like, don't you dare. When he called, you're not going to be here. And I'm not about to get kidnapped by some weirdo. I'm like, listen, this not Cayman. But we had some good times. I remember when Amanda caught chicken pox, and I think at that point I already had it. So I was like the only person who could hang out with her safely. But yeah, Miss Margaret lived right there forever, right next to my grandfather. And of course, my father was always there every day hanging out and whatever. So yes. And I mean, literally on Father's Day, I saw Mr. Oren Marin, and I said to him, how's she doing? Because I always wanted to interview her. But then, as our seniors get older, sometimes they start to slip a little bit in terms of their memories. He's like, not so sure. Oh, Miss Margaret. She was such a nice lady. Really, really nice lady. Nice to fault. I mean, sweetest person. So yes, my condolences. But she's related to the Golds. Is that what I heard? Because I know her niece is Amanda's mommy also Victor's mom that drives taxi? Wouldn't they be maybe half siblings? I think I'm getting my things straight. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Sandy, how are you today?
Not bad, dear. How are you?
All right, I'm all right.
Good,
Just
good.
a quick question.
Yes, sir.
It's hard. Was that little short brown lady who always in Georgetown Central with the bag on her back?
No.
Always have a bag. Not that one.
No, Miss Margaret was fair skinned, I would say. And she used to work Kirk Freeport. I believe it was Kirk Freeport for many, many years. Very quiet lady, lady of the, good Christian lady. She was a little bit taller, I think. I think she was a little bit more on the taller side.
Which one of the Margaret I talking to?
I'm not sure I'm picturing who you're speaking of, but I'm trying to see if I can find a picture, because I remember some years ago, I actually posted a picture of Miss Margaret because I saw her in the grocery store and I hadn't seen her in so many years. I think the one that you're talking about, she had short hair.
Yes.
She passed away back in 2021.
You serious?
Yes. I'm going to post that. Hold on. I think I know who you're talking about. I'm going to post up a picture and you tell me if this is who you're speaking of. But this is another Miss Margaret. I'm trying to see if I can find her picture. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we've lost. Listen.
I didn't know Miss Margaret passed off, man.
I think it's the same.
Lady, man.
Yeah. Send me a WhatsApp message and I'll send you her picture and see if we're thinking of the same person.
All right. Yes,
yeah. All right, darling. Thanks so much. Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can find a picture of Miss Margaret. She was just such a sweet person. My goodness. Good morning, caller.
Sandra, to clarify, she was a McLean. She was never married. Why they saying gold is because she raised Deborah, and remember, Deborah was married to Everett Gold. Deborah was married to the one that was married to Sonia. Sonia Gold, and then afterward they divorced, and then she married to Deborah. I remember Deborah and Jeremy used to be keyhole friends, taxi drivers. And then Miss Margaret was Miss Warner's sister. Patchin McLaughlin, she's Julianne and Carlita and them and Wesley and them are there.
What's the name of her niece that drives taxi? Isn't that Miss
That's Deborah. That's the girl that you were talking about.
Mama. Yes.
Yes, the girl that you say you and her were friend that she was so pretty. Yeah, but she was a mess.
I know, child. So what is Deborah's last name? She's a
Deborah the Gold.
Oh, she was the Gold. Okay.
Yes. Miss Margaret was her auntie because she was for her brother Molson.
Right. Okay.
Miss Margaret raised Deborah.
Yeah, and then she pretty much raised Amanda as well. Yeah.
And then Hank, I believe they had one they used to call Rushy or something like that.
Yes. Yep. He was always hanging out there at the shaky at the garage and stuff like that, working on cars.
Yeah. Well, Miss Margaret, all of them used to be wrong her, but I know she raised Deborah.
Yeah.
And she used to work at Freeport.
Right. At the airport location, yes.
Rosita and then she worked for Freeport till she retired.
Okay.
I used to go over there and when we get breaks and stuff, and what I call it, with them, all of them, we used to sit down and talk when we waiting for flights and stuff. But she worked at the airport with Jared Colonel and Eldon Colonel and for years. I don't know, I haven't another job.
Yeah. I'm going to try and find a picture of her because I think I posted when I saw her. This was quite a number of years ago. And she was in her 80s at the time. And I was like, Miss Margaret, you still at his shopping, going grocery shopping and stuff? She said, oh, yeah. She did.
She was 89.
Oh, my gosh.
Remember, she would have been 100 this year if she had lived to see it.
Right. Oh, my gosh. Wow. Thank you so much, Ms. Shelma, for reminding me and clarifying a few things. So
I know her, but I tell you, I've been, because I know all of them, the older people. Airport, I was looking at Rosita picture the other day, and I said, Rosita looking old now too. Well, I guess I'm old. I don't say anything, and they were older than me, but they made out of good stuff.
Oh yeah.
Old people are lasting longer, and that's what we eat.
Yeah.
Then that's all this cancer and stroke. But you notice that all that, you know, is either heart attack, cancer, or stroke, one of the three.
Yeah. Ay. What a mess. She was such a nice lady. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right.
All right, dear. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very, very. She will definitely be missed. Okay. Yeah, like I said, she definitely raised Amanda, you know, I remember. And I was away for 15 years. I lived in the States for 15 years. I pretty much grew up in the States, right? So when I would come, and I tell you, I didn't really visit that often, but the times that I would visit, really the only place that my aunt would even trust me to go kind of outside of her site was over by Miss Margaret's to play with Amanda a little bit. So she was a very, very nice lady. Not strict enough, I didn't think. I was like, she needs to be stricter, honey, chill, especially with Amanda. But anyhow, you know how it is when you get to the senior age and you're raising your grands. A lot of times you're just, you don't even know what they'd be up to because they'd be running circles around you and you don't even know it. But Miss Margaret was just an absolutely sweet person. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that this morning. Right up until the end, my aunt and her were such good friends. Ay. Very, very sad. All right. Well, what to do? I mean, she certainly lived a good life. And I think that, so many of us, everybody has to go that way at some point or another. And for so many others, your life is cut short. 99 years. She was obviously blessed, for sure. Oh, can't live forever. Ay, ay, ay. But yeah, I'm still trying to see if I can find this picture because I remember taking this picture of her. I thought I took a picture. I can't remember. I think I did. Of her at the grocery store, and she had looked so good. All right, my condolences. Yes. Morning, Johan. Oh, Raymond said, can we please get to prep school? Lavana says she is my dad's cousin. And somehow I used to think that we might have been family to her as well, you know, but I don't quite know. Come, Miss Stacy. I don't quite know the full connection in terms of that. Maybe. But yeah, I remember Shaky. He was there at the he was always hanging around cars and fixing cars and stuff. I think he passed away a number of years ago. Well, you know, he used to like to have his little drink and stuff like that. So yeah. Wow. Yeah, so we're the original crew from Walker's Road, Boilers Road area. And it would make sense. We probably have to do it over here, Stacy. Let me see. It would make sense that that Lavana, I think your daddy, he was a Christian. So I kind of feel like a lot of the people in that area are all family. They're all related. They're all related to each other, to be honest. And so I'm trying to turn it on, but I forget when that happens, why it doesn't turn on. There's a reason. All right. So yeah, so I kind of feel like Lavana, your dad might be family too, you know. I mean, I could be wrong, but I do feel like there's probably some. Is it when it's too hot that it doesn't turn on? I can't remember. Oh no, it needs more water. That's what it is. Oh, hot. Oh, honey child. Bring a little bit room temperature at least. So yes. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. I was not expecting to hear such bad news this morning. Poor Ting. But she lived a good life. Sometimes you just have to be thankful, you know, for the life that you lived. Poor Miss Margaret. Well, she will definitely be missed. All right. Ay. Miss Melita, good morning. So yes, you guys were telling me this morning about this thing. Island Pearl said, did Amanda have a sister named Celicia? I don't recall Amanda having any sisters. Certainly not. She may have. I mean, I don't really know, to be honest, but certainly not in her age. I can't remember why she was with Miss Margaret, really. But, you know, this is how things happen. Like my aunt raised me and, you know, sometimes you saw a situation where kids, you know, family might have been struggling for different reasons or whatever. And so, you know, the grand aunts and other people. Put a little bit more, let me see. I don't know why it's not coming on. They would kind of step in and really assist and stuff like that. But anyway, so yes, thank you for alerting me. Apparently YouTube now has some sort of a new feature where you get ranked. And when you click on it, it tells you top fans. Wow. I don't know what you get as a top fan, but anyhow, let me show you. Hold on one second. I'm going to show you guys what this looks like. Yeah, so you get some kind of top fan status. See, these are the top fans. We got Island Pearl is number 1, 026111. That's Lala is number 2. Shaka Zulu is number 3. And then it goes down from there. You can do it. Keep showing support to make it to the top 50. I don't know how to do it. What do you do? So it says here that the leaderboard, a place for fans to stand out in the community. The top 3 get special badges and live chat. It resets every stream, so you can always try again. How do you get on the leaderboard? You'll need to collect experience points or XP, and this is how you get them. You send live chat messages, send super chats, and super stickers. Okay. So it's those of you who I guess are commenting the most. Now you have a reason to outdo each other a little bit. Good morning, caller.
Hello?
Hi, dear. Hello?
Yeah, I want to clarify. She not Luana Ade.
She no, well, she said
Irene and I mean Ellis.
No, Lavana says she was my dad's cousin.
Oh, because Luana grandmother was named Irene and Miss Margaret mama was named Ellis, and they were 2 sister children, and Irene was something by marriage. So maybe she don't know her husband. I don't know.
No, she said cousin. She said cousin. She didn't say aunt.
Oh, I thought that the uncle. I was clarify her because I know born her, but I know a little bit more on her.
All right, honey. Thank you.
I know the people. Miss Margaret mama was named Ellis, and her and Luana grandmother, Doreen mother was named Irene. No, Ellis was Margaret mama, and Doreen was named Irene.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, darling. Appreciate it. So we're starting to put the pieces of the family puzzle together. And I tell you what, this is so interesting. I'm pretty sure that we were actually family to Miss Margaret. But anyway, someone said, I think Deborah is Leon Gold's mom. I could be wrong. Did someone say that Amanda belongs to Deborah? So Leon's sister. Oh, you're kidding. You are kidding. And somebody told me during the election that I'm actually family to this Leon Gold, and they were trying to explain to me how. I can't remember now, so don't ask. But I think we're all family, honey chow. But I can't remember how they told me I was family to him again. He would be some cousin chow. I was like, oh Lord Jesus. But maybe on the father's side. What a mess. Or the mom is, I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised. So Amanda is Leon's sister? But then he would be quite a bit younger than her. Oh my gosh. Yes, sir. That makes a lot of sense. Hot mess. Y'all can help me figure out the family tree here today. We got to put all the crazy people in the mix for sure. Wow. That's interesting. What a hot mess. Yes, honey child. Somebody said I might have it wrong. Well, I don't know. That person is right. Deborah is Leon's mom. And is she also Amanda's mom? So Leon, how old is Leon? He's probably what, in his 30s, 40s? How old is Amanda now? She was younger than me, but I can't recall how much younger. Oh, Lord. Melita, I haven't seen Amanda in years. At one point, she used to work Maples at reception, but she wasn't there for long. But yeah, I haven't seen her in a long time, so I don't even know whatever happened to her. She's still around the place? Lord, Melita has food this morning. Never mind. I can tell you anyway. She says, do you want to hear this list this morning? Salt fish and callaloo, Irish potatoes, plantains. Oh God, I need some plantains. Avocado and a piece of hard-dough bread. Lord Jesus. Miss Stacy, am I getting any food today? Because this one making me hungry. My grandmother was a Thompson, says Lavana. So we're all Thompsons too. So that means that you're gonna be family to like all the Thompsons in town. And I kind of feel like I'm probably related to the Thompsons as well, you know. So like Karen Thompson would probably be some kind of cousin to you as well. One pile of mix up. That's why, honey child, you can't marry Caymanians unless you really know your people, because you're marrying your cousin. She might have a sister on her father's side, but her mother, Deborah, only had one daughter and two sons. Yes, Miss Marilyn Phillips Soka. I noticed that we weren't on Facebook easily on the homepage. So I think I shared it. So did I put it up? No, I still didn't put it up, Lord Jesus. Hold on. I meant to put it up. Yeah, there we go. I'm doing it now. Yeah, it's still under the live tab. So let me clue you guys in a little secret here. Sometimes, and I don't know why, when we go live, it doesn't show up directly on the Facebook page, but you can always find it. Let me show you guys exactly where. So that means you're not subscribed to the channel. I don't think Soka has WhatsApp, that's why. So regardless of whether it's on the post page or not, if you go to more and you click on live, and you know we're live because you see right over here, that little arrow says live. And a lot of times if you subscribe to the page, it'll pop up, but I know you get a lot of notifications, so it's easy to miss. But if you click on live, this will actually show you the live stream. So that's the easiest way. If you don't see it under regular posts, you just go to more and click on live. You see the little blue dot, that means that we're live, something live is showing. And you just click on that and then there's a live stream. But I've just shared it because I know most people just go here. So I've just shared it and said live now. Because yeah, I noticed that sometimes it just doesn't show up here. I'm not really sure why, it's weird. All right, I'm soaking my feet in some Epsom salt and stuff. Oh man, it's super hot this morning, trying to see if I can get a little bit of relief. Carmen Gorham, someone found your debit card this morning, so reach out and we can give you the lady's number that found it. Oh Lord, have mercy. Okay, so so your grandmother was Doreen Thompson. I gotta tell you, I'm not really the best with all of the names and stuff like that, the connections, because I was gone for so long. I'm like, I don't know. Marilyn says that is correct. Read Leon. So Leon is Amanda's brother. So yeah, so that means that I can't remember though, to be honest, how we were. It makes sense that we would have been related though, you know, because listen, back in those days, like when you came from the same neighborhood, chances are somewhere down the line you were related anyway. Amanda is her eldest child. Okay, thank you, Marshall. Wow, I did not know that Amanda and Leon were related. Where is Amanda? I've not seen her in years. Miss Anita Ebanks said, good morning, Sandra. Sadly, if she's the Miss Margaret I'm thinking of, was a very close friend of my mother, Georgette Ebanks. Probably. Yes. Wow. We're so interconnected, Miss Anita. Marilyn says, I'm totally not into who is my 13th cousin, blah, blah, blah. Well, listen, we are closer than you think. So they had two different fathers. So, okay. Oh, Lord, have mercy. She tried to break up your uncle's marriage. Not Miss Margaret, let's be clear. Somebody else. Yes. Oh, God. I'm not surprised, really, because, yeah, what a mess. Okay. So Leon, good morning, San. Leon is for Jerry Ann. No, seems like he's for Deborah, whoever Deborah is. I just know she's a big time PPM supporter because during the campaign, somebody said that to me and I was like, good luck to her. So what a mess. All right, let's move on, because Ahsoka say we'll never figure out the genealogy thing, to be honest. But Miss Margaret, you were such a wonderful lady. May you forever, rest in peace. Touch so many people, and did her best. Always was a kind lady that really lived by the good book, I must tell you. All right, so my condolences to everyone. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Cayman Prep. I obviously don't. Marilyn says, Craig, Perry, and Sheen are my brothers. That's all that matter to me. She's like, she's not going past, not even cousins. She's going straight to brothers, and that's it. Well, I must say that there's something amiss at Cayman Prep. Let me be very, very honest here. I don't have a child that goes to Cayman Prep. So I always preface my comments by saying that, listen, I don't know. I only know what people tell me. And what I've heard over the years about Cayman Prep is it can't be that everything is okay over there. I really, so you and I are family too. Miss Morna, I wouldn't doubt it, honey child. I wouldn't doubt it. So listen, I find it interesting that we get so many complaints about Cayman Prep. And I mean, it runs the gamut from all different people from all different walks of life. So I was just having a quick peruse of the Facebook comments, and somebody said, this editorial, Claire Miloy, I guess, says that, I'm sorry, while everyone is entitled to their opinion, and this person clearly has many opinions, this kind of public bullying cannot be tolerated or accepted. The suggestion that this anonymous person speaks for the larger parent body is just not true and has to be addressed. So she goes on to share her opinion. Claire, let me share a little nugget with you, right? I don't know who this person is that sent in the opinion. They did send it in. And in fact, we didn't post it the second they sent it in. We had it for a couple days because, quite frankly, I was very busy. But you started out on the right foot saying that everybody's entitled to their opinion. I would have probably just stopped that line there, because someone shares an opinion that you don't necessarily like. I don't think that equates to public bullying. That's ridiculous. There wasn't anything, I didn't, I perused it and the person had a lot to say. What I would say is that based on what I have heard from other parents, and I don't know if it's the majority or if it is the silent, because a lot of times you have people who are feeling this way, and because they don't want you calling them a public bully, they're not going to get on social media and they're going to, not going to make a comment. What I would say though is too many people are complaining about Cayman Prep. Not just now, because I don't know how long this particular principal has been in place, but it doesn't seem to be related to just her. I mean, some of the concerns obviously currently are about her, but there are many other complaints preceding her that make me think that there's something systematic going on in that school. And I'm going to tell you what some of the issues are that have come to my attention. Claire, people don't just randomly set up Facebook, not Facebook, but WhatsApp groups, these prep parents, to talk about Cayman Prep and express themselves in this way if something is not wrong at this school. So I think the truth of the matter is there's some of you who are oblivious to it. And, forgive me for being frank, but you're probably oblivious to it if you're an expat, if you are from the UK, Canada, maybe the American expats. And if you are in a certain socioeconomic group, you're completely oblivious to it because the issues that are being faced by the parents would not impact you. this is where you have to understand that different people are having different experiences at Cayman Prep. So I'm not surprised that Claire has supported the school and has said that this isn't true, this isn't the majority, because you hang out in a very different group. You're in a different stratosphere at Cayman Prep. So you wouldn't have any idea. Already somebody said kaboom. You wouldn't have any idea what these parents are actually talking about because you're not experiencing it and your child doesn't experience it. You get a different experience. Can we agree that in a lot of instances, people have different experiences depending on who they are? Okay? So the vast majority of people that I hear and what you should do, what somebody needs to FOI, but Cayman Prep, not subject to FOI, what you need to look at is the people who are leaving Prep are not going to be the kids of the British lawyer working at Maples and Walkers. It's going to be the Caymanian, multi-generational kids. You heard what the woman said in the letter? Mm-hmm. She went to Cayman Prep. Her mama went to Cayman Prep. Grandparents, everybody went to Cayman Prep. It is those people, Claire. You probably just recently came to Cayman. I'm not trying to insult you. Trust me when I tell you, right? You've probably been here maybe 5 years at best. I don't even know, right? So you're not in a position to really talk about the history of Cayman Prep. And this is where on this program, we tell the cold hard truth. We're not trying to insult you. Just because, you know, you're an expat doesn't mean that I have an issue with you. Not at all. Now I'm going to sound like those white people who say, I have a Black friend. When I say, oh, I have expat friends. I've always, let me be very, very clear, had expat friends. And I see Claire actually worked at, I don't know if she's still there, but she actually worked at CIS. She was a personal assistant to the director. What I would say, Claire, is that your experience and the experience of your group of friends, which I doubt includes very many multi-generational Caymanians, is not going to be indicative of what they are experiencing. And so we need to pause for a minute and perhaps recognize and realize that that does not equate to bullying. This woman has an opinion. We're going to go through her letter and talk about some of the things that she has said. But I think that, you know, she has an opinion. She backed it up. It was pretty well written, I must say as well. And she backed it up with, you know, what she says are some of the issues that the school is facing. The school is definitely facing some issues. Good morning, caller.
Yes, Sandra, what you were saying is perfectly right. You remember, I'm not going to call no name or not you, but you remember what I had talked to you about a said individual that when somebody calling on the show and say, oh, they were so nice and they were this and they were that. Yes, that's how the experience that they probably had with them. Mm-hmm. But just because I'm saying, I don't tell lies on people. And if you hear me say something that happened to me, it is true. But then they say, okay, you might find somebody that I know as a good person, but then they were bad to me. You understand? Because that person that they were praising and saying all kinds of things about good person and so quiet and whatever, they come down in here and cause a big problem for me, and I got witnesses. So this is why I think that they weren't a good person to me. They might be good to them, but what he coming down to me and what he done down in here was uncalled for because it was a lie. And they could cause a lot of serious problem out of just that lie. So this is why this person that's saying it's not true, like you say, maybe because they never experienced it, but they can't say what somebody else experienced. This is what I don't understand with people.
Yeah. All right. Leave me there. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You don't tell lies on people, but if I find you a bad person, but somebody else find you bad, I can say, well, Sandra did me so and so or whatever. And to me, you're a person, which you're good to other people. So this is what I tell you. People don't understand. People not willing to tell the truth and speak the truth.
Yep. You take people how you find them. That's for sure. So look like Claire's husband, Jonathan, works at is it Auger? One of these places. Like I said, I don't have to dig deep. I don't have to know very much about Claire to know that her experience is going to be totally different. And, I'm not trying to insult you, but this is why when you come to Cayman, some of you really need to hang out with some Caymanians. You need to learn the experiences. Oh, he's actually a partner now at Maples Group. Girl, please. Do you think that your partner, your husband being a partner at Maples Group, that you and your children are going to have the same experience as a Caymanian family who works extremely hard to have their child at prep? What's the theme song here on the program? Hold on, let me get to it. All these people keep changing up my stuff in my studio. Things looking different again today. Hold on a second. What's the theme song, folks? Points for anybody who can remember. Yes, honey child. Here we go, Claire. Dedicated to you and all like-minded people thinking the same. Yes, Duppy know who to frighten. Okay. And what I can tell you is the Duppies at Cayman Prep are not going to be frightening you and your partner, your husband, who's a partner of legal services at Maples and Calder. You're going to get a different treatment. You're going to get the VIP treatment. I bet you that when you guys move to Cayman, looks like you've been here at least 5 years now. Let me see, Maples Group, Joined Maples Group in 2008. All right, so you've been here a hot minute. Elected as a partner in 2014. I used to work at Slaughter and May in London. Listed as a market leader. Yes, all this wonderful stuff. I'm sure that when you came here in 2008, you probably did not even get put on a waiting list, because we know that places like Maples and Calder have reserved, right? So they hold seats for their lawyers. Walkers does the exact same thing. So that when they bring in families to Cayman, they automatically get a seat at the table at Prep. There's no waiting. You don't think Cayman Prep knows who you are? So you don't get the same treatment. So no, this isn't online bullying or whatever the heck you called it. Perhaps you need to be a little bit more sensitive to what it is that people are actually going through, right? This is the biggest thing. We are not listening to each other. People are not going to just randomly complain about Cayman Prep because, number one, they recognize and realize that every single complaint impacts the reputation of Cayman Prep, where their children go, and they want the reputation of the school, which traditionally, at least academically, has always been very, very good. But things have changed. I'm telling you. There are people who go to Cayman Prep, or send their children, I should say now, to Cayman Prep, who went there themselves, and they were like, oh my God, it is a totally different experience, right? Their children are subjected to racism, not covert, but overt racism. Little children, maybe even your kids, Claire, I'm just saying, this is what the parents are telling me, are calling Caymanian children, regardless of how fair-skinned they are, the N-word. They are bullying them. Teachers will sit in the classroom and hear your little English child call a Caymanian child the N-word and say nothing and do nothing about it. There are children at Cayman Prep having mental health issues, depression, and so forth because of the treatment that they're getting at that school, and because the administration is blind to it. The teachers are blind to it. Every single school will have problems. Every single school, could do better, I'm sure of it, in terms of inclusivity. All of them, right? But Cayman Prep is the single school that I hear the most complaints about. I don't even hear complaints like this coming out of CIS. And CIS, I'm sure, has, although, they've improved over the years with their diversity, they have less of a local population. And I can tell you, The local children who go there, I talk to their parents, I interact with their parents. They don't have these types of complaints that are coming out of Cayman Prep. So Claire, instead of you saying that this person is bullying, what you need to do is you need to listen with an open ear. You guys need to stop putting a Band-Aid on the situation at Cayman Prep. It will never get any better. It's certainly not going to resolve itself. And in fact, it's only going to get worse. And it's going to get worse to the point where it is going to impact the academic performance of the school. There is something amiss at Cayman Prep. Somebody said Prep has always been racist. They said, yep, good morning. Prep has always been racist. Oh my gosh. I don't know, but you guys have got to open up the, you've got to open up the ability to think outside of your little, very exclusive box. Claire and I'm just using Claire because she commented. I'm not picking on Claire, to be fair to her. At least she had the decency to comment and say what we know a lot of you guys are thinking. Just because you don't like the opinion and you don't agree with it, you think that somehow this equates to bullying. No, it doesn't. You said it right. Everybody's entitled to an opinion. But if you cannot see what is happening at that school, it's a problem. I see Aiden Watler even, made a comment. Well, he says, sign your name to it. He says the argument is incoherent. The claim that Prep's capacity for academic excellence has diminished is manifestly false. Well, Aiden, I know you're an alumni yourself, but I'm not so sure that you can speak to this until you actually have children who go there. Because once again, you're a Caymanian. I don't know specifically what your experience was at Cayman Prep, but you may not have had, he talks about, how the kids have secured offers from Oxford, Cambridge, LSE. This is the thing that has kept Prep out of the limelight for so long. Let me say this much. Aiden touches on something that I think is very, very important. The reason that so many people have kept their children there, despite them having severe mental health issues and trauma because of other things that are going on, is simply because of the academic performance at the school. Because they have good grades, they always get inspection reports that are excellent and all sorts of stuff. So the parents are like, Sandy, I was willing to sacrifice my children, okay, for the sake of, you might get an opportunity to get into Cayman Prep. That does not mean that the issues that they have are not real issues. Okay? This is real. It's happening. But I think the point that the author is trying to make, and I agree with this, is it's only a matter of time before these issues start to have an impact on the academics of the school. And when that's gone, when they're no longer the top school, when kids, are struggling to get in because they're having mental health issues, they're depressed, they're bipolar because of how they're being treated at school and all these other things. When they're having those types of issues, eventually it's going to seep into the academics. But you know what Prep does? Prep is very good at, what's the word that I'm looking for? They are very good at carving out a particular image for themselves. So they will cut people, right? If your child isn't doing well, they're going to tell you, your child have to go. They need to get out. So they maintain their academic standards, Aiden, not because they're such a fantastic school, but because they're a private school, they have the ability to actually make certain decisions, even at the acceptance level. I know a young man who he has some special needs. I don't know exactly, what all of his special needs are, but I remember when he was at Montessori with my daughter. I was talking to his mom, everybody's like, where's your kid going, et cetera, et cetera. And she's like, oh yeah, he's going to go to Cayman Prep. And I said, oh, okay. I said, well, we've been there on the waiting list for years, since Gianna was like 8 months. They're rude. You don't even get an update from them, whatever. And I'm going to tell you about my little experience here shortly. But anyway, she's like, oh, well, his dad went there, so we won't have a problem. She's an expat from the UK. Dad's Caymanian. I said, okay, that's great. I don't have any history. My mother used to go to the church, and then she stopped even going to that one. So I ain't got no pull, no cloud. I'm just a regular Caymanian trying to apply, right? On a waiting list for years, and nobody even gets back to you. Not even that common courtesy do they have. So I remember seeing her sometime later. I said, oh, how is it going? How does he enjoy prep? Oh, they denied the application. I said, what? But I thought you said he was pretty much a shoo-in because his dad went there. Yeah, because he's going to need a little bit extra. He has some special needs. He might need some additional, after school assistance, whatever. No, they're not accepting anybody that they think is going to bring down their academic performance. That's how they see it. And if they see your kids struggling, they're not even going to offer you the help that your kids need. They're going to be just like, oh, no. Sorry. You either have to bring up this grade in one semester or your kid's out of here. That is how they maintain their academic standards. That is how they maintain people going to Cambridge, getting accepted to Cambridge and all of these schools. Of course, if you pick and choose and refuse and you're only going to take la crème de crème, what do you expect? Now, I'm not saying that they don't have a good academic program. That's why I wanted my daughter to go there, because based on what I have seen, I think they do have a good academic program. But the bigger picture is they are also curating very, very carefully their students, their student body, so that their performance remains high. Because they're not going to accept you if you are mediocre. You've got to go. I have had so many people, I'm sitting here thinking of my girlfriends, right? Who have children. Their children went to prep. Their grandchildren went to prep. And one particular parent that I'm thinking about right now, she pulled out both of her children from prep. Why? There is something going on at Cayman Prep. And until Cayman Prep starts to address the real issue, nothing is going to change. And I dare say, in fact, it is actually going to get worse. I'm not here to try to make prep look bad. I'm here to say you guys have got some problems and you need to fix it. Listen. When you're in a position of privilege, you do not know what the average person is going through until you have experienced it yourself. So we remain oblivious to what is really happening in our communities as a result. Do not remain oblivious. I'm just saying, even for myself, I have to admit that probably the experience that I get is different than the average parents, because what we said earlier, what did we say? Because what? Stop and know who to frighten. And dumping, no, don't play with me. Don't play with my child, because I'm a different kind of mama bear. Okay. So you ain't gonna mess with my child and think it can just go so. So even from my own experience, I would be willing to say that, yeah, dumping, know who to frighten. Voyager says it's called the doctrine of discovery mentality. People come here and are totally numb to the reality of the locals because they're too encapsulated, my apologies, in their own narrow view and their reality. And I want to challenge you all to know that the reality that you guys live here is not the reality of the average Caymanian. That's why when we have discussions on here, some of you, like Catherine from Augier, think that I'm trying to divide some wedge between Caymanians and expats. That is the farthest thing from what I'm trying to do. I am trying to bring you guys into the fold. Lady Di, these are my friends. When they listen to the show, they get a little glimpse, a bit of an understanding, maybe, of how Caymanians feel, how they're struggling on a daily basis. That's the only way that we can bridge the gap. We don't bridge the gap between Caymanians and expats by pretending everything is hunky-dory and that there are no problems. Come on now. Yeah? That is not how you bridge the gap. Most people will not speak out against Cayman Prep for fear of reprisal. So this parent said, you know what? It's summer break. She has moved her children. They're no longer there. So now she feels free to be able to share her thoughts. Who can blame her? Some years ago, not to pick on anybody, but Nichelle Scott shared a post that went viral about Cayman Prep. And, she was sharing, I don't know if it's still up or if Nichelle took that post down, but she shared something that I can tell you, so many people, this is back in 2020, so many people related to it. Okay. She actually did a follow-up post in June of 2020, said, my recent post on the division in Cayman received a lot of feedback, both positive and negative. Thanks, y'all. I thank my friends for approaching me privately and respectfully with their concerns or questions. And I thank the prep moms who asked me to help them understand my concerns and shared their own with me. You see, that is how you do it. If you don't understand what somebody is going through, it's not for you to call them a bully because they dared to speak out. It is instead for you to try to meet them halfway. And honestly, ask them, well, why do you feel that way? And that is where you will get some degree of greater understanding. We cannot understand each other if we remain silent, folks, on what issues we have. We have got to be prepared to say, you know what? Yes, I'm having this particular experience. Do you all understand this? Because if you don't understand it, how on earth are you going to address it and fix it? You will never do so. So I'm still trying to find the original post. Like I said, I don't know if Nichelle still has it up or not, but her post hit a nerve with a lot of people. Now I stand to be corrected here, but Nichelle has 3 boys. And as far as I know, all of her boys have now been moved from Cayman Prep. Don't think that that's a coincidence. Does she still have 1 left there? And they have requested to be moved from there. And they go to different schools now, and they are thriving at these different schools. You guys have got to understand that there is something inherently wrong with the system at Cayman Prep. There is, I would say, systematic discrimination. There are issues that the administration just put a Band-Aid on. So when it flares up, what they do is they run in, we're going to have an exclusivity committee and let's talk about it. And they just do that to placate the parents. You do not understand the number of parents that have come to me and say, Sandy, this is what's going on. I go to the administration, I go to the director, the principal, this one, that one. And they pretend like they care. And they're like, join this committee and exclusivity. We're going to work on this. And then nothing happens, because once it dies down, They are done with the conversation. Because you know why? Because there's no genuine desire to really change what is happening there. You guys have got to bring your Cayman Prep community together, or else you're going to have even bigger problems. Fanny says not only Cayman Prep, all these private schools in Ireland don't want our Caymanian children in them, which is sad. Well, what I can tell you, go and read, Johan. You will see the submitted letter. And the lady, like I said, she is free to share her opinion, which she did. And she had a lot to say. Let's dial it back a bit. Because if you had someone all the way back in 2020 sharing concerns about Cayman Prep, and here we are in 2025, not much has changed. The concerns continue to be shared. You guys got to wake up. Look at this very lengthy post. Okay, so there was something going on. I can't remember exactly what kicked this off, why Nichelle felt the need to comment, but it was something in the K-Moms group. So she said the recent K-Mom situation and the racial tensions in the US has me thinking of the racial divide in Cayman and potential solutions. I know this won't be a popular post. Actually, it turned out to be a very popular post, but I can't keep my thoughts to myself. We have to be careful of what we are designing our country to be. We also cannot allow ourselves to be pushed out of areas where we want to be in our own country. My sons go to Cayman Prep, no more, honey child. And we thought long and hard before we made the decision. I think about it every day, and they may yet be moved. Because I am proud of what we look like, and I want them to be surrounded by that. It is undoubtedly one of the best schools on the island. Well, best academically. Okay, so let's qualify that. But as all of my Caymanian friends pointed out when I was debating, it is a white school. I know many Caymanians choose to not send their children there for that same reason. They are not wrong. The racial diversity is lacking at Cayman Prep. My children are in the minority at their school. In our own country, we are the minority in our South Sound neighborhood that we just moved to in our own country. CIS just posted a picture of their graduating class. Once again, the lack of diversity is clear. When I choose to apply for a job, I and many other Caymanians have to hesitate because we know it's probably earmarked for the boss's friend from back home. Why don't they have a Caymanian friend here who would be perfect for the job? Put that in quotes because that's what they always say. Oh, this person's perfect for the job. Yep, they're your friend. Because they don't have any Caymanian friends or very few. Whose fault is that? Ours or theirs? We used to intermingle with newcomers, and 2 generations later, the children of those expats sounded more Caymanian than you or I. Now I sit at Christmas concerts and I hear British accents on the stage in our own country. This is not an anti-expat post. I think we have to welcome new people in to our shores, but we have welcomed them and, locked them out when, my apologies, locked them out, which turned into locking ourselves in. There's too much separation and division. My first suggested solution is opening the schools to all who live here, whereby expats can access public schools and scholarships are offered for Caymanians to the private schools. There also has to be conscious acceptance of applications by the private schools. Yes. I see my people being passed by on waiting lists for prep, and a random person who moved here last week getting into the school. Such occurrences are suspect. I hear you, CIG. You don't have the space in the school system. But response to that is this: then don't grant the permit. This is the same as a traffic situation. The infrastructure has to meet the decision making. If the country cannot accommodate the people to accept them completely, then don't allow them in. I would love to find a way to help our country integrate more. We are presented a new opportunity via COVID-19 to review the way we do everything. Outside of the above, we have to be willing to build friendships and relationships with those not of our shores. The newcomers have to be willing as well. Very well said, Nichelle. June the 7th of 2020. Here we are, July the 23rd of 2025. And all of this stands to be true just as much as it was 5 years ago. Nothing has changed. And so that is a problem, okay? We have got to understand that we cannot continue on this course of division because it will not benefit anyone, least of all, most of all, I should say, the Caymanians. We have the most to lose as a minority in our own country. YouTuber says Aiden is Oliver's son, as you said, Dape know who to frighten. I mean, Aiden, I don't think you're probably the average Caymanian, not for nothing, but having two parents who are lawyers, and at the time when you were there, one was at Walker's and, you know, at one point your dad was at Maples. It does make a difference. I'm just saying. Johan says, Auntie Sandy, why are you ripping on prep again? You're acting like the vast majority of schools in Cayman don't have issues or dealing with certain attitudes, behavior, and making excuses. Johan, can you please go to the back of the classroom? Because your inability to comprehend sometimes really is shocking to me. As someone who is supposed to be intelligent and who has all these degrees under your belt, you can be particularly, now your child goes to prep, am I not right? Not for nothing, but once again, Dape know who to frighten. You may not be having the same experiences as the average Caymanian, remember? Because you get the privilege of living in a gated community in your Southtown neighborhood. And yes, you know, the vast majority of your neighbors are also not going to be Caymanians. I'm just saying. No one is ripping on prep again. Where were your defensive comments when I was talking just the other day about Truth for Youth? Or when I was talking about, what's the other one there that was a failing school a couple years ago and we had to blaze them up? The one down by Agape. What is that school called again? Where were your comments in defense of them then? Don't come here defending foolishness just because your child goes to school. I'm just saying. Okay. What was that school called again? I can't remember. So everybody's fair game. When I'm here talking about government schools and the hot mess that they might be, where are you? Yes, he's the one getting blazed up today. Where are you in defense of them? Do not close your eyes, Johan, to what is actually happening in our community, because then you become part and parcel of the problem. When you sit here and make comments like that, and I don't really give two rats, only 856, you know what? If you're going to claim that you're joking, this isn't a joke, because when you make a comment like that, you're making me out to be, oh, you know, Sandy don't like Cayman Prep and she has some issue with Cayman Prep and blah, 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 blah. Oh, because her child couldn't get into Cayman Prep. The other day, Cayman Prep sent me an email all these years later. Gigi was on the list, waiting list from when she was 8 months old, like I said. All kind of people, I've seen them post on social media. Oh, we have openings now. Apply. We've got openings in grade, whatever. My husband's like, what's really going on here? I said, honey, child, things happen for a reason, because God knows if I was at Cayman Prep and all this foolishness going on there that is happening, I don't know who to frighten. It would be a hot mess. So I said, you know what? Leave them right there. We're fine. Gigi's good. She's not going to get any less of an education just because she can't get into Cayman Prep. So the other day, they had the audacity to finally send us, finally we have opens for grade 4 and 5. I'm like, whatever. And I saw the email and I just hit the delete button. My husband said to me, oh, did you see that email today from Cayman Prep? I said, yes, honey. And I hit the delete button. Okay. You know what they had the nerve to write back? We need a response from you. We emailed you like 3 weeks ago. We haven't gotten a response yet. We need a response. I was like, rude. I'm like, you need a response. Well, I need a response since my child was 8 months old. She's now 8. So you ain't getting a response from me. You can just move on to the next person on your list. But that's what they actually talking about. We need you to respond to our email. Lord Jesus, these people bright. Yes, Johan Moxham. Go ahead and defend. Go ahead and defend Cayman Prep. Let's hear the ridiculousness.
And offering a defense of Cayman Prep, I was making a general point about the divisions that exist within our society, whether you're expatriate versus Caymanian, Caymanian versus Caymanian.
But why make this comment that I'm tearing them apart? I mean, do you actually think that that's a fair comment? Because if this is 9:30, I'd be saying this in a very different way. That's not a fair comment, Johan. Parents are complaining. They have been complaining for many years.
You made the point. You just made the point 30 seconds ago that they pissed you off by not acknowledging.
No.
Or whenever you apply to prep school.
Nope.
That has to play a role in
no, it
how
doesn't.
you think of them.
No, it doesn't.
And so on and so forth.
Well, I just think they're unprofessional, but I don't have any experiences with Cayman Prep. What plays a role
you do because
is the
you
countless,
and they didn't acknowledge, and now 8 years later they're saying yes. So don't say you don't have an experience. That's nonsensical.
No. The experience that I have with them is, yes, they're unprofessional. That is different than the complaints that parent upon parent for years have been reaching out to me about. I've even had an older brother of a Caymanian child who was going there doing exams and whatever, doing his A-levels, talked about how his brother got hauled into the principal's office in trouble for vaping and smoking in the bathroom when it wasn't even his brother. But they choose not to believe him because he was the only Caymanian black child in the bathroom at the time. So when all the little white kids ganged up on him and said, oh no, he was the one smoking, which they were lying, they took their word over his just because he's a Caymanian brown-skinned child.
No.
These are the stories that I hear every single day, Johan. So this has nothing about my experience at Prep. Prep did me a favor. And I want to say to them today, thank you for not accepting my child because, like I said, don't know who to frighten. And the foolishness that I hear going on at Prep, I, for one, would not tolerate. I have had parents calling me in tears, adult men, about what is happening at Cayman Prep. And I'm just like, why are you keeping, somebody just said shots fired. My homeboy's risking his brownies. This is one of those same parents who has had multiple.
Keep your dry up brownies. I don't need you talking free today.
This is one of those same parents who have had 3 children. They're making the sacrifice to have 3 Caymanian children go to Cayman Prep and finding that money to pay for those children. And when they talk about how the administration is tone deaf, how they don't understand, they refuse to do anything when they lodge complaints, et cetera, the only logical conclusion you could come to, Johan, is there's something wrong at Cayman Prep. That's all I'm saying.
But Sandy, extend that. Yes, and you're talking about prep school, but there's something wrong with this country because it's the same thing that happens in the workplace. It's the exact same thing. There could be Caymanians in a group and something goes wrong. I promise you, everybody's going to rally around that is a Caymanian and say, Sandy did it, or Johan did it, or John did it, or Mary did it, so on and so forth. So I'm just saying, whatever the issue is, and there are issues because there's no institution, whether it be we got problems. We got problems in look at the stuff that you report. You highlight a lot of the major issues. We got something like healthcare, HSA. They can't be bothered to separate kids from adults who got real issues.
Well, let's keep Let's keep the issue in Cayman Prep for a second, right? Let me ask you a question.
No, just let me finish making my point.
Okay.
The point is, whatever issue that exists at prep school, whether it be bullying, intolerance, ignorance, racism, it's the exact same thing. The difference would be, you would teach Gigi, I would teach my boys, listen, you don't have to tolerate that from anybody. Anybody give you lip, you give them lip. And then basically we'll show up and we'll defend you to the death. Because if you're wrong...
But the school has an obligation to do something about it. And where the school doesn't do anything about it, I think is where the parents are frustrated.
I don't have a problem with what you're saying, and I would agree with you because we all pay our money to send our kids wherever. So the kids are, the school is obligated to try and address whatever issues it is. But the point, and the general point that I was making is, I think whatever is being discussed, or prep is the example for today, it's a microcosm of other things in Cayman. And we gotta bring that same energy to everything, because there's people in the workplace right now that are afraid to do anything because a lot of people, and I'm not being the racist Caymanian, don't want our people in certain things or just look down on our people. And they're always the easy scapegoat. That's the reality of Cayman in 2025. And whenever there's a policy that comes out where we're going to try and be more pro-Caymanian, then we're racist. Yet, but in the UK, look at what happens. Look in America. You know, like we got to have. I don't think anybody's child should ever be subjected to anything horrible, especially bullying. But it's funny how we can get up in arms over that, but we ignore all of the other same things in every other facet of life. That's the point that I was making. Nothing more, nothing else.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for the comment.
Give me my dry up brownies.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to put something
Hurry
extra
up.
in them next time for you. Make sure you sit in the bathroom a little bit longer.
Evil soul.
Okay, my dear. Thanks for the comments. And I will respectfully agree up to a certain point, but I think what Johan is doing this morning is trying to take the light off of Cayman Prep and saying, oh yeah, it's just a big problem that we all got. No. Let's back it up. I agree. Triple C, thank you. When I was going after them, Johan wasn't here defending them either. But I agree that we do have bigger problems, but the issue that we're talking about today, and then unfortunately I have had to talk about on more than one occasion, is specific to Cayman Prep. So let us not just cough it up to, oh, well, you know, this is a microcosm of the bigger issues that we're having. No, there's something different in the water over at Cayman Prep. Ask yourselves in the last 5 years, the people that have left there, who have those people been that have left on their own accord? Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandra. How are you?
Not bad, dear. How you doing?
I was listening to the comments, and I read the letter that the parent posted, and I was thinking, right, and this doesn't go too far from a conversation I had with somebody at a get-together a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. Right? What?
Thank you.
Why can't those parents who are unhappy, right? They're unhappy with how they're unhappy with how things are run. They're unhappy with you know, the overall climate at any given school. Why can't they, you know what, get together as a group and say, you know what, the tuition that we're paying for our children, let's put together and find a private tutor, right? And we'll have our, whether it's 5 children, 10 children, and let that teacher know, be that homeschool in a way, but you're going to see better results that way, right? And I think if more parents would put together, just come together. I mean, you have options. You don't have to be stuck in a situation that you don't like.
I think that it's easier said than done. I'll tell you that. So I think that a lot of times, you know, if parents had that homeschooling hybrid option as a viable option, that would be great. And they would probably take that up. But that's not as easy to get a curriculum in place and all these things that is even going to be accepted by the Cayman Islands Education Department. So I hear you. And, you know, there are new schools coming online, I suppose. But the reality for most parents is that the waiting list to get into these schools is exorbitant. To even get your child into Cayman Prep, you know, is 1 in a million shot if you're a Caymanian child. So it's not an easy decision for parents to then turn around and say, well, I'm going to pull my child out and put them somewhere else, who, especially if the school reports are showing that other school, and those school is perfect, let me tell you, but that other school does not even have the academic performance of Cayman Prep. You know what I mean? So you're gonna sacrifice your child in one way, but protect their mental health, I suppose. And to me, their mental health should be everything.
Yeah, just a suggestion.
Yeah. No, I think if it were easy to do, I can tell you that the parents would have done it already, but it's not quite that easy. You know, there's exorbitant waiting lists that people are on. And so it's challenging, but thank you, caller. I think the bottom line is there's scope for more schools here, but it's not easy to have a school that has all the facilities and the good teachers and the this and the that. And, you know, YouTuber 345 says, Johan, that makes no sense. Sandra hasn't had any experience with government schools, and she shared her criticisms of them just the same. Exactly. I've not even put my child on a waiting list for government school. But you know, this is what people do. They try to find a reason outside of it is what it is. It smells like a dog. It walks like a dog. It barks. It's probably a dog. It's not going to be a cat moonlighting as a dog, you know. But when you don't want to admit what is really happening, you go at the messenger. So it becomes an issue of I'm the problem. I'm not the problem. You know, yes, my daughter was on the waiting list. She was also on the waiting list for the other Montessori school. And I've never heard anything bad about them. And I've never said anything about them. I know how the waiting list works. Like people kept telling me when I was pregnant, like, oh, you need to put her on the waiting list now because these schools have ridiculous waiting lists. But I also know that at Cayman Prep, there are people who come here and there's a waiting list and they still get a spot over those Caymanian children. You have to explain things like that. Like to me, that doesn't make any logical sense. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandra. How you doing?
Not bad. How are you?
Good, thank you. Chiming in on this, Cayman Prep. I don't even know what this has become, to be quite fair. As a Cayman Prep mom myself, I'm not even sure where to start. Fortunately, my children, neither of them have experienced any, well.
But you only just got there.
Correct.
So give them time.
But I agree that there are people who I'm friends with who had their children there who have experienced racism, spans the entire gamut. The problem that I have, I do not think, and I think I may also speak for you, that none of us really want to be forking out thousands of dollars every month for private school education. I certainly don't. But the question for me, taking academics into consideration, I think that Cayman Prep has led the charge with that from inception. I'm not saying that it's perfect, and I'm not saying that that is all to it. But by far and large, I don't think any parent signs up for their children to go to school to be a fool, right?
Of course not.
We're paying for what we perceive to be the best quality of education. And in some instances, we're taking a hit, maybe on the social side of things, or we put up with things that we otherwise wouldn't put up with. But the question is, for me, not to the institutions like Cayman Prep, and they're just the ones being highlighted today, but this happens across all of these private schools. Let's be clear, if we were talking to some other parents in other private schools, the sentiments would be the same. My question is for the Department of Education and Cayman Islands Public Education, what are we doing to enhance that system, that curriculum, to ensure that we are producing some of the best and the brightest? I do see a lot of public schools doing a lot of great things, putting out a lot of amazing students with incredible passes / qualifications. But at the end of the day, we still have a fair amount of Caymanian parents who, myself, it is a sacrifice, who are putting their children into the private school because we not just perceive, it is proven that there is a higher standard and quality of education. I personally don't believe that education should be for profit. Cayman Prep is a school. They're in this thing to make money. But at the end of the day, they are also doing a whole lot more with a whole lot less. Their teachers are paid less. They get less funding. I mean, when I think of education in the public system, the funds that they get are, I wouldn't say unlimited, but far exceed what I understand most private schools are getting. And for me, the question is, what are we as Caymanians, and how do we hold the government's foot to the fire in respect to education? Education has been declining for decades, right? And what are we doing to enhance that standard? Number one. Number two, what are we doing to ensure that we can compete with Cayman Prep? What are we doing to ensure that we are doing more with less? Not suggesting that is the way to do it. But I mean, I personally, my grandmother said, if you have 10 children in the class and 9 are failing, then they are fools. If you have 10 children in the class and one is, and you get the analogy, right? And what I'm saying is, we consistently see, I believe and I understand from people in the public system across all all the entire island. And I'm saying you have Miss Hill, who is teaching year 1, or let's go to year 6 because that's, more formative. Mm-hmm. You have the entire class who is failing, who is below average, who isn't delivering. Is the problem the teacher? Is the problem the students? Mm-hmm. Those things I don't see replicated in the private sector, in the private schools. And I'm saying, why is it that public education has to kind of be the scapegoat for bad teachers? If you don't make it in the public school, let's just jump over to the public system. Mm-hmm. You get paid more and you do less, and there's nobody on your tail. You don't have KPIs in the public school, as I understand. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that the education problem, as far as Caymanians and fixing the system, in terms of just even going back to what Michelle said, seeing people like us, hearing people like us on the stage at certain performances, having children in the classes that look and sound like us, that's also important to me. Is it important enough to me to sacrifice my children's education? I'm not sure that it is. I'm not sure that it is. And I'm saying, I do not think, and I think I speak for you too, and many other parents, if public education was to the standard and the level that we are receiving in these private institutions, would private education be a consideration for you? Probably not. But I'm just saying, how long will our children continue to suffer? I don't see that the system has improved very much. And I mean, I'm a product of the public school. Many of our sitting ministers are products of the public schools who've gone on to do incredible things. Cayman has grown as a jurisdiction. We're top 5, top 10 in the world for standard of living and quality of life, et cetera, but we're massively failing our entire country on the education front. And I'm saying, why? Why are we struggling to answer this question? How can Cayman move forward but education regress? I don't understand it. And we have local examples of schools that are doing exceptionally well. Granted, Cayman Prep is probably number 1, not for perfection. And I don't think that should be the goal. But I mean, if Cayman Prep is doing it right, have a conversation with Cayman Prep to try to get on board, not reinvent the wheel or run off to Finland and Sweden and East Jabib to find out what works for us when you have the local expertise here on island. I just don't get it. And for me, I think for parents who have the ability to choose private education, I think we are choosing curriculum and proven results over being, I guess, I'm not even sure what the word is, but loyal to the education system. And it's unfortunate that, I'm sure there are people in the public school who are having a great experience, whose children are doing phenomenally well, who do have the ability to have their children in private schools, but are seeing great results. But I do not believe that they are in the majority. When you speak to other people, we don't believe that they're in the majority. And I'm just saying, like, why is it that these private institutions are doing so much more with so much less, and nobody has stopped to say, well, how about we go down to Cayman Prep and see what their curriculum is? There must be structure. There must be rules. I look around things as simple as uniforms. I am a big proponent of order and structure, and this fly by the seat of your pants every day. People going to school with what my grandma calls are taught not look your head looking like a tree. Like these things, grooming is important. You can't have it in the public school because, my God, you'll offend them and you'll encroach on their human rights. But these are the people that we're putting out into the work system, and you have Johnny with his pants to his knees. That is not acceptable in the private school. For most parts, don't get me wrong. I see the skirts. But those types of things to me are starting to be kind of an overflow from what was the public system, because at least that is my experience. And I'm just saying,
leave me there.
We have the most.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think that, you know, when I was, for myself, I can only speak for myself personally. When I was looking at private school versus public school, because at the elementary level, I think there are far less issues in our government schools, right? And I live in the Savannah, Newlands area. So we're like, you know, she would probably, our catchment area would be either Prospect Primary or Savannah, right? And both of them, by and large, are pretty decent schools. But the thing that I said to my husband, like where my concern was, it wasn't at the primary level. I'm like, yeah, we can get her in there. But then if we have to move her later on, it's much harder as the children get older to move them in from a government school to a private school, you know, because God knows you're on a waiting list for 8 years or whatever the situation is. And there's also like continuity, even for the children, they end up going to school with like the same little group of friends, you know, so there's a little bit of continuity for them. They get used to one system over the other. So those were some of the practical things that I was looking at. But my concern wasn't with government elementary school. It's when they get into the high school, middle/high school level. And it wasn't even the academics, it was the behavioral issues, the parents who have no control over their children. And because it's a government school system, apparently you can't ever get expelled kind of vibe, right? So they do the most. They bully, the assault. You know, we've talked on this program, so Johan needs to dig back into his memory bank and look at the schools, John Gray, Clifton Hunter. Every single time I have lambasted them for not being able to properly handle school fights. Children are literally getting beaten and assaulted and big bruised eyes, and they do nothing about it. The minister at the time was saying nothing about it. She wasn't doing anything but saying a little prayer about the situation. So government schools by far have more of a behavioral issue. I could not even bring my mind to think about, let me look at the academics, because I couldn't get past the behavioral problems. And I know that my child is not going to be growing up as a hooligan. Hate to use that word, but that's exactly what's happening in some of our government schools, right? So for her to be hanging out with these children who have no discipline, no behavior, they want to beat her up just because, oh, your mommy said something about my grandaunt who's going to jail for drugs on the radio. I wasn't going to tolerate any of that foolishness. So I said very, very plainly to my husband, I said, listen, I understand a little bit about the dynamics in Cayman. We will work as hard as we need to work to keep her in private school. Even if I have to go out there and twerk on a pole, Auntie can do it in order to keep her in a private school, because I could see the issues. And again, nothing to do with academics. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Auntie Sandy. This is Aiden Watler. How are you?
Hey, Aiden, how are you? I see you're home from school.
Excellent. I am home from school.
Congrats on your graduation.
Thank you very much.
Well done. Yes, I saw your comment. Thank you so much for making it. And of course, I am going to challenge you on some of what you had to say. Only because
that's why I'm calling.
Yes, only because for years now, I've had parents complaining about the issues at that school. So you obviously went there. I'm assuming from day one, you were Cayman Prep student.
That's
and
right.
You went there the entire time. And your experience, you're saying that you can't understand what the complaints are at Cayman Prep. Is that right?
Well, I'm not saying that. I can certainly see why people might have complaints, but I think to reduce it to, well, this school is racist and hates Caymanians is at best reductionist and at worst, ignorant. And I say that because, as you said, right, I am a Black Caymanian man. My family is from East End. It goes back 10 generations. It doesn't, my roots are deep here. I went there from day one, right? And I never felt that there was any inhibition to me achieving whatever grades it was that I needed to do. When the time came in sixth form, I was head boy. I got my A levels. I went to a good university. And that was all because of prep and because of what my teachers at that school had put into me. I honestly felt really that those teachers would sacrifice. As the previous caller mentioned, these teachers make less of a salary than the government school, but often will work longer hours. They're staying after to run extracurricular programs and this sort of thing. And so I don't think it's fair to say that this is keeping Caymanians back or down.
Can you accept, though, Aiden, that your experience as although you pull on the multi-generational East Ender, right? When you go there, you're not even sounding like an East End child. You are the child of Oliver Watler, an attorney at law who was at Maples and Calder. Your mother is also an attorney at law who was at Walker's. Could you perhaps understand in the real world that your experience is not going to be that of the average Caymanian? Because in fact, you're not the average Caymanian.
Well, I'm going to push back on two of those things there, Auntie Sandy.
Okay.
You're saying
All
I
right.
go to prep and I'm not sounding like a Caymanian child. Or
No,
East End child.
but I'm saying you're not.
My question is, what does that mean, right?
Well,
and
I mean,
I received a similar comment on the page,
people
right?
say the same thing about my daughter. They're like, oh my God, your daughter does not sound like a Caymanian. Like she sounds like, the average kid from the US. And that's because,
this is part of what I wanted to raise.
Yeah.
Is that I got this comment as well under your post of, using such big words and you're so privileged. And I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but it is certainly a similar vein, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
but
well, your parents were lawyers.
I probably am saying that. You are privileged. And this is the reality of it.
I also think that's
my
that's
child.
simplistic, of course.
No, but my child is privileged too.
Of course.
So up to a certain point, right? So what I'm saying to you is the parents that I really hear a lot from are the ones who don't fall into that privilege category. That's what I'm saying to you. Right.
But what do we mean by this, right? Any parent that can put away money to send their kids to prep, right,
is
coming from a certain background.
Nope,
not
necessarily.
Appreciate you make a certain assumption.
No.
Well, if I could finish my thought,
parents.
You're making an assumption about my parents, right, and the status that we came from for them to send me to that school. I saw my parents sacrifice and work hard to send me to prep. It wasn't just, we have money to throw away. Let's send him to prep so he can learn to speak like an American. I mean, they worked hard to send me there. And correspondingly, I always knew that I had to work hard. Of course, privilege is a thing that exists, and I've had advantages. But realistically, we can't just chalk this up to that. We can't just say, well, the school is racist unless you've had advantages, unless you're privileged. Because essentially, this is, again, the typical problem I notice in Cayman is we're too focused on dividing Caymanians up against each other. Well, you don't have my experience because your daddy worked at Maples. And so you don't understand whatever it is. Whereas in reality, I think we have a lot more in common than we would think. And this is going based on appearances. And people are assuming, well, because you're privileged and because you speak this certain way, you can't relate to the average Caymanian. What I'm saying is, as a Caymanian, and I am a 10th generational Caymanian from East End, no one can take that away from me, regardless of how I talk or how you think I'm supposed to talk. I went there and I was able to succeed because I was able to work hard. And I think saying the school is racist or keeps Caymanians down is simplistic.
Okay. Well, we'll take your experience. Like I said, you can only go from your experience. And I also would want to remind you, young man, that you're still in your 20s. You don't have a family yet. You don't have kids. There's a lot of factors that you will learn as you go through life. So somebody just used the term green to say, boy, he kind of green still. I mean, you will perhaps have different experiences as time goes on. And what I would also say to you is, yes, there are many privileges that we have in life, including monetary privileges that, like the song says, "Don't know who to frighten." And so people don't get the same treatment depending on where you're from in life. And that includes financial. So yes, you may be a 20th generation Caymanian, but if your parents are in a particular profession and they're seen to have, whether they do or not, I didn't know what their bank account was or any of that stuff, right? But when you can afford to live in an 8,000 square foot house and your teachers know that and your colleagues know that and your parents are driving the Mercedes and the BMW, listen, to be clear, doesn't mean they're not sacrificing and they don't have money, but to the outside world, they have made it and they're in a different category than the parent who drives up in a little beat up HRV that they've had for 10 or 15 years. And they have 3 children going there. And maybe some months they're actually late with their tuition money because they simply don't have it. There is a difference. And you are treated differently.
That's not a race issue.
I concede that the issue at prep is complex. Race is one of the issues. Money and privilege and wealth is another one of the issues. I actually had a prep parent who has 3 children that have gone through the system, and they sent something that I'm going to read here. But Aiden, I appreciate your commentary because someone said the other thing to consider is maybe your experience, maybe the school has changed since you left. I mean, it's been, 4 or 5 years now? So
4 years.
Yeah, I mean, things change every day. But my point is this, right? It can't be that Caymanians just have an issue with prep. because for years, this is not the first time I've had to talk about prep. For years, I have had people coming to me over and over again. And I've not really had this outside of like the school fights in government schools. I have not had this level of complaints about any other private institution. So in my mind, something is going on at Cayman Prep that needs to be taken seriously and needs to be addressed. That's all I'm saying. Like I said, my child doesn't go there, so I don't have all the ins and outs, right? But I know the level of complaints. The fact that the parents had to create a WhatsApp group to talk about some of those complaints, even up to last year. And in the group, again, the expat parents like, oh, well, y'all need to stop complaining because this is going to get to Mall Road. What's the problem if it gets to me? Because we don't want to discuss it? Because those parents live in denial. And the beauty of it is in Cayman, they have the privilege of being able to live in denial. Not everybody has that privilege.
Well, I will leave you just by saying I appreciate the way that we can discuss these issues publicly.
Absolutely.
That is always what I love about
Yes.
this page, is that we can have honest, open, and frank
Absolutely.
discussion.
Absolutely.
And I will say reducing it to Caymanians with privilege and Caymanians without privilege at prep really does more harm than good, is my firm belief.
Yes.
Because
Well,
all it does,
I
and
hope
people
that
say
that's
this
not
typically, it's the
what we're
crabs in the
doing
barrel,
here.
right?
Yeah.
No, but it does come across that way, right? When the conversation starts as, well, Caymanians are held back in prep. And I say, well, I was a Caymanian. My parents sacrificed. I worked hard. And the response is, yeah, but your dad drove a Mercedes, so you were privileged. It really does feel as if, okay, we're just going to try and divide Caymanians as much as possible so we can polarize this debate as much as possible. And my question is, who benefits from that, right? Why has this come up now? Why are we getting anonymous comments with these vague criticisms about being anti-Caymanian, right? Where are the concrete particular experiences? Who is writing this?
I'm going to read some. Well, I'm going to read some of those right up next. Thank you so much.
Well, pleasure to speak to you this morning.
Oh, absolutely. And thanks for your first call to the program. I appreciate it.
Many more, hopefully.
Yes, thank you so much. So I take Aiden's comments and I don't want anybody to think that we are reducing this to that. And that's why I say to the parents, this is where now it is your obligation, those of you who've had these experiences at prep, to speak specifically. He's asking for specifics, and I think he's right. We're not relegating this to us versus them. We're not relegating this, well, this is just, wealth versus no. These are concrete examples. And I'm going to give some of you, because some of them have been sending them to me in the comment section. Richard says, until we face the fact and admit that some people are privileged, we will never get to the bottom of the problem. And privilege is something that oftentimes you don't understand when you're the one who's benefiting from the privilege. Like I said, I have the benefit, and this is just my opinion, I have the benefit of knowing the privilege that my daughter has, which I didn't have as a child. So there are times when I will remind her the sacrifices that we make to keep you in government school. Even the other day, we were having a little miniature conversation in the car. And something she said to me, and I said, listen, we make a lot of sacrifices to pay the school tuition, thousands of dollars every single month, okay? To make sure that you can go to this school. And the only thing I expect of you is for you to focus on your grades and be a good student and be a good person. Because I did not have an easy life. Now, she's only 8 years old, but she said to me, oh, Mom, when I said the part about not having an easy childhood, she said, oh, Mom, like, what happened? I said, you're not ready. She's not at the age of 8 because she's soft, You're not ready for the reality of what Mom had to go through. But one day I'm going to tell you, when I think emotionally you're ready and you can handle it. You're not ready for that conversation. But just know that that is why I work as hard as I do and I sacrifice as much as I do to make sure that you get to live a privileged life. Because it is a privilege for us to be able to take a vacation. It is a privilege for you not to worry about where your next meal is coming from. It is a privilege to be able to pay your bills every single month. It is a privilege in Cayman now, especially as a Caymanian, to own multiple properties. That is a privilege. Yes, it is a privilege to be able to drive a Mercedes and know that you could save up the cash and pay for it and not even have to go to the bank. It is a privilege to have parked next to that Mercedes a Tesla that you paid cash for. Those are privileges. So don't deny, just because I'm a multi-generational Caymanian, that I am not living in a pretty privileged world. I know that I am. Okay? And I still live in an average neighborhood. It's not a gated community. And there are people out there, Caymanians, who are even more privileged than me, who are far more removed from the realities of what it really is to be a Caymanian struggling in the Cayman Islands. Now, I've experienced the struggles in my lifetime. I know the struggles. So at my age, I'm in a different position. My daughter is going to lose some of those struggles because I am creating a privileged life for her. Right? Most of her friends are going to be people from this privileged school that she attends. And I understand the implications of that. And that is why I go out of my way, to a certain extent, to make her have connections and interactions with other Caymanian children who go to private school, who don't have the privilege of all of these things. Go to a play date to somebody's house who is smaller than yours. Because you know what happens to children? When she was 5, 6 years old, you know what my daughter told me? Our house is so small. I'm like, what the hell? 4,000 square foot? You try cleaning it and tell me it's small. Why? Because she's going to people's homes in South Sound and gated communities who all have pools and they all have 10,000, 8,000 square foot homes. And I say to her, wow, do you know that the average person, okay, does not even have a 4,000 square foot house in Cayman? So make her go over to those friends' homes too and sit there and play in a little area that is much more constrained so you can get an understanding of how privileged you are. And you better appreciate it because it didn't come easy. It came with a lot of sacrifices. So there are divisions along a lot of lines. And until we accept that those divisions exist, we will not get any further in this conversation. Atlantine Summer says Aiden doesn't understand that a parent who's a lawyer and who's well known in that profession is treated differently from someone who works in the civil service. Or the parent who, works just as an admin assistant, but they're still just a secretary. Even in some of the law firms, she's just a secretary. You are treated differently, right? You work in promotions and marketing. You work for Digicel, but your children go there. It's not the same treatment that you're going to get, whether you Caymanian or not. This person says the following. It's time you pull the curtain back on what's really happening at Cayman Prep, because there's a deep-rooted culture that has gone unchecked for far too long. Number one, division based on wealth. Teachers have been known to ask students what their parents do for a living, not out of genuine interest, but to gauge their family's income. It creates a toxic environment of class-based favoritism. Number two, status-driven exclusion. Many expat families avoid engaging with Caymanians unless they have something to offer in terms of social status. They gravitate towards those with high-ranking jobs or influence and ignore the rest like they don't belong. Number three, racism brushed off. A student once looked at my son and said, "You should just focus on running. You'll be running from the police anyway." The teacher's response, laughter. Not correction, not concern, just a laugh. Stick a pin. You can imagine a teacher hearing another student make that kind of racist comment, because that's what that is, folks. Okay? And the response from the teacher is to laugh. No. You hear what I tell y'all? Y'all hear the theme song? You hear this? Drop in who to frighten. Drop in who to frighten. You hear me? Unbelievable. Wow. You laugh at a comment like that. There's nothing funny about that overtly racist comment. And for a teacher's response to be that they laugh shows they are part and parcel of the problem. And I'm willing to bet that when this parent complained to the administration about it, nothing happened. And that's part of the problem. The administration at this school is not adequately addressing these issues. Academic discrimination. I was told my child wasn't learning fast enough to keep up and may need to be moved elsewhere, as if children develop at the same pace and those who don't fit the mold are disposable. I told you guys about that earlier. They even do it at the inception, at the, what do we call it now? At the intake process, right? So you have special needs, they're less inclined, especially if you don't have parents with income, this, that, and whatever position, whatever, they're less likely to take your child. They don't care if they have that check mark that one parent already went to her school. Emotional damage. Both of my children fell into deep depression while at prep. They were made to feel that they didn't belong because they weren't rich enough and because of the color of their skin. Now, one of those children is now in medical school. I think she's actually completed medical school and going on to be a doctor. So let me be very, very clear. Until prep does something about their situation, and until we stop making excuses for what is happening at that school, nothing will ever change. And folks, that is a problem. That's what I'm doing here today. I'm not picking on prep. Okay? I don't have any bones to pick on them about, nothing of the sort. I'm just saying, clearly you've got problems. And I have never seen a problem resolve itself without direct and focused intervention. This person says, Aiden's balls have dropped. Yes, sir. Shaking my head. He needs to sit down. Just because he didn't experience it doesn't mean others don't. He's not Black. He's Indian presenting. Lord Jesus. He's speaking from a place of privilege. Ask him when was the last time he went to a bonfire in East End other than a funeral in East End. Because I'm not sure too many East Enders would claim him. Oh my God. Wow, he's so green. I hope he's not running for politics. Let him speak and dig his hole. Well, again, it is one thing to say that, yes, you're a multi-generational Caymanian, and it's a whole other thing to have had those experiences with your own East Enders. I mean, I can't speak to Aiden's experience. I'm just saying, I doubt Oliver would have had him hanging down in the bush with his fellow cousins in East End going and picking, mangas and whatever. So a lot of times what we find is happening is that, even with our children, and, this is where we have to be careful as parents, because yes, I don't want my daughter hanging out with a lot of the dysfunctional family members, because I don't want her to have emotional damage from that. So there are some people in the family that she will never even know who they are. Okay, that's a reality. And so the chance I take is for her to kind of grew up with this reality of thinking, she's somehow better than them. It's not that you're better than them, it's that we're living a different moral lifestyle than them. And so I don't want her exposed to certain things. And that's why it is still incumbent on me as a parent to introduce her to local children, to make her get involved in activities where other local children are going to be there and not just the whitewashed version of her school that she attends. So that is a reality. And that's why diversity is important. Okay. So she needs to hang out with my aunt as she sits there knitting and sewing and showing her those types of things. She needs to understand her Caymanian history. Has nothing to do with Christopher Columbus and all this other foolishness, right? The other day we went to an event on Friday, and for the first time ever, the child asked me if she could try turtle. As much as I eat turtle, she so she's like, oh, Mom, can I try some turtle? and she ended up spitting it out. She's like, oh, it's too chewy, but she loved the stew conch. I need to take her to more of those events where everybody there was a Caymanian, and she can be like, okay, yes, I want to try some, what do you call this again? Tamarind drink. I'm going to have cassava cake, and I'm going to know when a cassava cake done right, when it not done right. Now, she mightn't love turtle meat, you know, she was kind of like, but at least she was willing to try it, because this is part and parcel of her culture. So she's going to have to know certain things about her own culture. And even despite that, I appreciate that in many ways, she's going to grow up privileged. But that doesn't mean that she's going to be naive to the facts of what it is to be a Caymanian in this country. Because guess what? If she was born and grew up on School Road just like I did, some of you Dog City, whatever, her reality would be different. She would be treated differently. And I know it. I hang out with some of these parents, and I know that if I, wasn't who I was even, my treatment would be different. That is the reality. And I accept this reality. Shaka says he's still seeing things through colored lenses. And to some extent, we all do. The colored lens of our own experiences. And when you've had none of these experiences at all, that is when you are comfortable sitting back and defending Cayman Prep. And I can tell you folks, the comments today are not along colored lines, because I have someone here. Let me see if I can find this one now, who happens to be, they're Caymanian, but they, are one of those people that came here a very, very long time ago. She's English. And she sent this comment as well, because she does not live in the gated community. She's not driving the fancy car. She's one of the average people. And this is what she said. She said, primary school is collapsing, leaving the high school to pick up the pieces and work harder to get the good results that the school achieved. There's no waiting list at prep primary anymore. Many Caymanians go to prep. Parents won't speak up, as they'll be targeted by Strand, regardless of whether they are Caymanian or not. Earlier, she said the following. And again, this is because, they're in the know. All right. Says here, don't mention my name, but the letter you ran about Miss Strand is all true. And there's so much more going on, but the board, the church are not doing anything about it. Her work permit needs to be revoked for bullying Caymanians. And I tell you that this message is coming from not someone who is a native-born Caymanian, but someone who has become a Caymanian, and they understand exactly what is happening at Cayman Prep. It comes down to your experience. With Johan earlier, somebody said, shots fired, my homeboy's risking his brownies. Lord have mercy. Oops, hold on. That one, I took out the name. A year ago, so-and-so's oldest son asked to be moved from prep. He's super talented, mixed child. He has soared during his first year at boarding school. He wanted to go to the same school his dad had attended. The youngest, who requires extra tutoring, did not want to make a change. After this last year, he was more than ready to leave. These two mixed race kids that are privileged and has a mother very involved with their school. She participates in every way, so they have money, but are mixed, still a mess for them. Both have been removed. Please do not call her name. Good morning, caller. Oh, I thought you were going to test the other line for me to make sure that that's working.
I did, but
I didn't get to the.
Still not working.
No. I wasn't able to answer it. Call back on that line.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll answer it now. What a mess. Okay, the street, what does one say? The phone line isn't working, calls are cut off and don't ring. But didn't you call earlier? I don't know what's going on. I mean, we are getting some calls. All right, let's just get a few more comments in while we're waiting on Denny to test that other line for me. Let me see. All right, this commenter says that Watler boy explained his mentality. He's got that from his father. Always thought he was better than his fellow East Enders. Yikes. I mean, not, you know, like somebody said, he is green, but I appreciate him calling in and expressing himself, because as Caymanians, you know, we want to be inclusive of all of our people, even the ones who sometimes reject us because they think they're better than us. Because when the shit hits the fan for them, you know, when they lose their nice jobs and cushy jobs and whatever, I can assure you that when they're brought down a peg or two, then they know how the average Caymanian feels. And, you know, we're here to be inclusive of everyone. So I'm just saying. This person says, you've hit every nail squarely on its head. Thank you for clarifying. And yes, although Aiden is a wonderful young man, well-educated and exceptionally well-spoken, it is undeniable that he himself is removed from the realities of many Caymanians. Joseph, good morning. We're doing well. Thank you so much. And, you know, he has to take on board these criticisms. You know, he's entered the public debate arena, and I'm sure he spoke eloquently, but he also has to understand that his reality is not the reality of the average Caymanian. Because being multi-generational doesn't necessarily make you the average Caymanian. I never heard the phone ringing.
Because I'm repeatedly telling you that it's not working.
Let me call you on that same line, because I heard you the first time, but I wasn't able to grab it. Let me call you over there. All right. I just want to make sure that because some people call me on the WhatsApp from my personal number, and I just want to make sure you guys can hear them when they do call. Let me just change the chat settings. All right. Can everybody hear Denny? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear Denny this morning. Morning, Denny.
Good morning. It is saying that the number is temporarily out of service.
This number? My 324 number?
Yep.
What?
The number we're on.
But you were calling in WhatsApp, so how can WhatsApp?
No. I was originally calling on the
show number. Oh Lord, let me message Flo now. Who's that? Who's that I need to message? Oh Lord, have mercy. All right, let me message Lee. Mm-hmm.
The only reason I called you on WhatsApp is because I couldn't reach you anyhow.
That's strange, because people right up until not that long ago, people were calling me. Lord have mercy. All right. So this one's working. People say they can hear you, so that's good.
All right. So when you're in the middle of a situation where you're being treated differently from other people, oftentimes you may not realize you're being treated differently, just because you're just thinking of yourself as a normal person just going about their life. But you're right in that you're saying that people are going to treat you, your daughter, differently from
absolutely
how they treat other people. And if you want to understand how that works, ask a civil servant to go to the governor and give the governor a piece of their mind, especially about how they feel things are going wrong in the civil service. And then when they express fear of doing that, you'll begin to appreciate how people are respecters of persons and positions. An average police officer won't go to the commissioner of police and really tell him what he or she thinks, right? For the same reason. And so I'm not going to get into the details of it, but there's someone who is a politician. And I had a private conversation with the person, which is why I'm not going to say what it was. And the person couldn't understand why I was dealing with a particular situation. And I said, you need to understand that you are not going to have the same experience as I am going to have, because you are a politician. And I just couldn't get this through the person's head. The person ended up taking a position that I was being unreasonable in what I was saying. And I said, well, clearly you don't understand. And I just kind of left it there.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, when you're in the middle of something, like just like how you would have a boxer in a ring, there's a reason why there's someone, the coach or whoever is standing outside of the ring. Because when you're in the middle of a situation, sometimes you don't quite fully process what is really happening to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that Aiden is being disingenuous in what he's saying.
No.
But
that's his
I
experience.
disagree with him. But I disagree with him because I know from personal experience, and just not only with my own situations, but with seeing other people go through things that people are treated differently.
Yeah.
If I chose to talk about some of these things publicly, people would their jaws would drop. The difference in the way people are treated is so stark. It's even wrong on a legal level. That it's amazing.
Yes.
So you're correct. But I want to say I kind of understand why it's happening. So my children go to public school. And the way I see public school is sort of like the real world on training wheels. And when you get out of school, you're not going to be able to control or stop people from doing and saying things to you, right? So you're going to have to learn to live with it. And how do you learn to live with it? Well, you use training wheels. And so I see the public school system as a reflection of society in the real world. And as a result, your children need to learn to feel the pressure and then be able to respond appropriately. And so, you know, because the difference really between the curriculum in the public and private school it's the same curriculum. What the problem is where when children need help, they're not actually getting it the way they should in certain circumstances. Some parents just simply don't care. They just know that the law says your child's supposed to go to school and that's it. Once they've met that, they don't care. Then there are situations where the public schools really can't take up for what the can't really fully do what they should be doing because where policies cause politicians to put things into the curriculum it causes a bloat in the wrong place. For example, we should have civics in school, which we don't. We should have financial literacy in the high school, which we don't. There's some basic stuff, but it's not financial literacy in the true sense of the word. And so we need to be careful not to bloat the agenda with things that are less meaningful than other things. Because what's going to really matter when the child gets out of school is, do they understand how the world works? Not just financially, but legally and all those other things. And so we're training our children to just accept these things. And see, this is the crux of the problem. So when you get out of school now, and someone says something about your child in the way that you're describing, you just accept it. Right? That's what the typical person would do. Well, I don't fall in that boat. I know you don't fall in that boat. And but what if everyone didn't accept the nonsense the way you and I refuse to accept the nonsense? think about how different things would be. And you see, what I'm actually trying to say is there's no substitute for courage and action in a democratic environment where your participation is required. It's not optional. Okay? Because what happens is if you just sit back and allow one or two people to say something, the way those who wish to abuse the situation respond, they say, well, there's only two people who have a concern. They're not going to highlight the majority of people who are silent. They're going to only highlight the two that's speaking out. And so, but that doesn't mean that what's happening is correct. It just means that they are allowed to get away with it because most people don't have the courage to stand with the two to make the difference.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right. This person said at one point they had 6 children in private school. The sacrifice was huge, but for me, I did not have the stress of worrying about who missed the bus. I dropped them off and picked them up. Parent participation plays a huge role, a huge part of making your school of choice the best school. Thank you so much for that comment. A few comments here on the WhatsApp. So Keith, thank you. Keith says, our Cayman Islands Financial Secretary, Kenneth Jefferson, graduated from Cayman Islands High School, as did a lot of people. Former Premier Wayne Panton, Juliana O'Connor Conley, all these people who, are intelligent. A lot has changed, I would dare say, from Cayman Islands High School to some of the things that we have now. And we as Caymanians, my apologies. We as Caymanians need to take accountability for a lot of the changes that have not been positive to our own people, because we're responsible for 99% of the degradation in our society that has occurred. We have to own that. That we can't put that on nobody else, right? Even what we import here and then we adopt the worst of their behavior, that's on us. Nobody tells us to adopt the worst in some other country's behavior or to import the worst of the worst. That's on us as Caymanians. So we have to own that, and we need to seek to start changing some of that narrative as well. Fresh Joe says, so you, Miss Sandy, is who we refer to as a chain breaker. Some parents think their child should have a rough life just because they did. Oh God, no. Not rough in the same ways. I mean, and there's a balance, Fresh Joe, because it's not about having a rough life in terms of like poverty versus not poverty. It's the other things that come with those types of environment. As people say, the emotional damage, sometimes the physical damage as well, that happens because you're in this environment of chaos. So I was always committed that whatever children I had, and I only ended up having the one and done. Poor her, she's always begging for a sibling. Oh Lord, she went and told her father the other day that it's me that don't want to have any more children. I was like, Jesus, you got a dog, be happy. You got a brother. See little brother Zeus there? Play with him. She's like, he's not human. But the environment of chaos, I had to be committed to not allow that to continue for another generation, because it really doesn't benefit us as people. So that is the underlying reason for doing the things that I do and the decisions that I make in relation to the care of my child first and foremost. Justice will be served, says, same with you, Sandra. You'll be treated differently because you own CMR, and teachers will treat your daughter special to avoid complaints. Not for nothing, but I agree with you 100%. And I know that that's a reality. I can literally see how some people approach me, the timidness, I pick up the vibes. As we say, don't know who to fighting. They're not going to fuck with me too easily. And I get that, and I understand that. Now, I'm not a person who takes advantage of that. Most of the time I'm like, listen, I'm just here to pick up my daughter. I have certain rules. And we're strict with her. Like, nope, no, please don't ask me about any sleepovers. We don't believe in sleepovers. In fact, she's not even coming over to your house unsupervised, because I'm that kind of parent. And I make zero apologies for it. Okay? I don't know you. And even if I know you, your moral compass, I don't know. I'm going to be there. She's having a play date with your child. I'm sitting there having a coffee break. I'll be drinking my tea while you have your coffee or your wine or whatever. So I'm very much bringing my Caribbean protectionist ways along with me. But justice will be served. I completely understand that. There's a lot of people. I get different service. I get it. Every time I go into a restaurant or whatever, people, oh, Miss Sandy, oh my God, Miss Sandy. I know the average Caymanian not getting all of that. Nobody happy to see you all. Yeah. Justice goes on to say, but just the other day, Caymanians tell the government Caymanians should be in office jobs, but to do cleaning jobs, waitress jobs, and only expats should do it. What would we call this? Raymond Barnes says, bro, acting like classism in Cayman doesn't exist. I think this is when Aiden was on at 9:32. It's a mix first in racism. Then if you got a little Cayman status / name brand / bougie, what is this? Oh, brought up, say. I was going to say bougie. Who? Brought up, say. That clears you to be a token in certain circles. Give it time. You soon buck one who will drop the N-word in your direction. And Raymond is one of those who is a father of mixed children. And not mixed with Cayman white, like white from Texas. So his children will be, depending again on who these people are, even those children will be subjected to comments. And some of our mixed children could pass for white. That's why some of y'all out here trying to pass for white, because you don't want to have to deal with the racism. You don't want to have to deal with the N-word. So you're like, let's just we came out a little bit lighter on this side, a little bit straighter hair. We can go and get Brazilian this and that and Chinese, all kind of stuff. You know, when I hear about people like say Barbara Conley's of the world, right? Having to go straighten her hair with some kind of Chinese, Korean, something straightening method. I'm like, why? You already got good hair. One more you need to straighten it for? But that shows how we have been conditioned to not want a single kink in her hair. Let me see who this is calling me. This, hello, good morning. Hi. Okay, I'm just on air, so can I call you back when I'm finished? Yeah, this is your direct number? Yeah, okay, no problem. All right, my dear, thanks. Atlantine says, why is it polarizing to merely point out these issues of discrimination along race and class exist? He claims he wants nuance, but yet shoots it down when it's brought up. And that really is the crux of what I want to make clear. By discussing these issues, that does not mean that you're trying to divide people. In fact, it is the opposite. You divide people when you pretend they don't exist. You divide people when you refuse to acknowledge these issues. That's why we are here having an open dialogue, and anybody respectfully can call in and have their own opinion. We don't have to agree. We don't have to disagree, whatever. But if we're not talking about it, we will never fix it. Keith Orrit says, thank God Cayman Prep is not the only school on the island, because the majority of our children would not be able to afford an education. Miss Debbie, you and Johan were getting into it a while. I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but she says, Johan mocks them well. That's fine if nobody cares about my views. Johan did not say that. Johan, I'm not going to give you any brownies for 3 weeks. You're on a brownie strike now. You did not just tell her nobody cares about her views. Stop it. Don't be rude. Imagine how many people care about yours. Lord Jesus. Well, she's giving as good as she got. The comments on today's topic are overwhelming, of the same nature regarding your attitude. I have a lot of perspective and purpose, hence why I commented, if you can't take the heat, stay out of the fire. Well, or at least get out the kitchen, because we know he's not cooking no brownies. Johan, please behave yourself. Everybody has an opinion, just everybody has an asshole. Okay? So your opinion isn't more valuable than Miss Debbie's. And if she's sharing her opinion, she's free to do so. And you should not be telling anybody that nobody cares about their opinion. You may not care, but that doesn't mean that other people don't care. Marshall said earlier, of course, there's a lot of issues all over Cayman, but today we're on Cayman Prep. Miss Ann says, I had a teacher once tell me that my son would only be a wannabe. Well, my ignorant side responded, the bull and my Taurus changed. No, I did not move my child. I was there every day to look that teacher in the face. My son has a successful career as a partner in an American firm. Parent participation is in your school is huge. You see, and she would make a comment like that without a response from me. Want to be what? Want to be Caymanian in his own country? Want to be what? YouTuber 345 says, I can guarantee you, Oliver, sacrifice and someone of a lesser privilege looks very different. Sacrificing $2,000 when you make $20,000 is not the same as $2,000 when you make $5,000. Yes, that is true. And I mean, I know parents who get behind on school fees and stuff because, you know, they're not making 10, 15, 20 grand a month. So that $2,000 might be the same that they're paying for mortgage or even more, and multiply that times 3 when you have 3 children going there. It is a significant sacrifice. So everybody can claim that they're making a sacrifice, but you're absolutely right that the sacrifice is defined very, very differently. Justice will be served says 2025 race color is useless. COVID passed through the world and shows it doesn't care who's white or black or who has privilege. I'm tired of hearing about the race, this and that. Well, again, these are the realities of the world that we live in. Miss O'Meria says, Sandy, I totally disagree with you. Okay. My son went to prep from kindergarten to graduation, and I've never experienced any of that. Once again, that's fantastic for you. What I'm saying is, based on my observations and the number of parents that I've spoken to, what I would love for one of you parents to do is go ask Cayman Prep over the past 5 years, how many students have voluntarily left Cayman Prep and who they were. I am willing to bet you 80, probably 90% were Caymanians, and I mean multi-generational Caymanians. So you can disagree with me, but if Cayman Prep would give you data and statistics, I bet that what I'm saying, which is just echoing what the parents at Cayman Prep, largely Caymanian parents, are saying, can be proven by the numbers. But I bet you they would never release that information. I would put $1,000 on it. The numbers would support the mass exodus of students, whether it's mass exodus or whatever, but the people who have left are Caymanians, and they're not leaving for no reason. So Miss O'Meria, I'm happy for you that has never been your experience with your one son. That's fantastic. I'm glad not every Caymanian is experiencing it, because we never said every Caymanian was. YouTuber says, ask Aiden how many times he got sea egg in his foot or buck toe from running up and down in East End. This is laughable. Oh, Lord. I remember when I used to get him, honey child, and my sister would be like, oh, you got pee on him. I'm like, are you sure? Yeah, let me pee on your foot. KY345 say Cayman needs stronger discrimination laws in the schools, employment, and in the rental market. Racism and prejudice among Caymanians, darker shades of complexion, and the Caymanian accent. And we know this happens in the rental market as well. KY345 says this has nothing to do with Caymanians being the minority. I wish people would just realize that this is racism, prejudice, and biases, plain and simple. We got one here from a student. Quite lengthy, but let's read it. I went to prep school, and as a white Caymanian, I definitely had a different experience than my black Caymanian friends who also went there. There are a lot of nuances that occur at prep that are not direct, but still have deep effects. When I was in school, very few generational Caymanians ever won end of year awards. Interesting. I played football at the national level for many years, played in the Women's Premier League, was the captain of Prep's school league, played squash for Prep, played netball for Prep, any sport you can think of. Yet year after year, I and other Caymanians were bypassed for Sportswoman of the Year. One year, it was to a white girl from British parents who sailed. And the last year, it was a white girl from British parents who rode horses. Neither participated in any sport within the something was there, or for the school. I've had 3 other siblings who went to prep and all experienced the same thing. It is also no coincidence that through all my siblings' experience at prep, Caymanians have always been in the lowest classes for everything. Wow. Which may just be an issue of working class parents not having as much time to invest in their child's academic career. However, there are many nuanced experiences that children face throughout their time there. And my Black Caymanian friends always had a very hard time through high school due to that. As a Caymanian, it was very hard only having foreign teachers. There was a big cultural barrier that the teachers were not willing to bridge by understanding us. I was scorned by teachers and often given an attitude by them when I would say yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am, and told not to say that. My mom did not appreciate that, as she taught me to have manners, and now I'm being sent to school and told otherwise. I've heard that, which is interesting. They can also be culturally insensitive, which doesn't naturally mean they're racist. Prep gave me many opportunities. It's not the worst school in the world, and I'm personally grateful I went there. However, that doesn't negate some of the issues happening there. Okay. Wow. Ms. Magdalene said the Honorable Ralston Anglin also went to the Cayman Islands High School. Damien says street smart versus school smart. Jim says one's reality is not the same for everyone else, and that's very, very true. Faded Mary Jean says, but these issues aren't distinctive to just Cayman Prep or the Cayman Islands. This is any private school in the world. The treatment is always different when it relates to class and stature. This is a private school. Not everyone who attends will have the same experience. I'm sure Catholic, Darts, International School, and other private schools have the same issues. The only difference is they're more expensive and the pockets, and they're not necessarily more expensive either. I think in this day and age, they're actually probably on par, because I've seen the pricing at Prep. And in some instances, they are actually cheaper, including CIS, because they include things like aftercare and whatever when you pay those fees. So they're not necessarily more expensive. Prep, not cheap. The school fees for Prep, and every year all the schools go up. So, you know, there is that as well. We have to have the conversation, folks. It starts with having a conversation. Shaka has a great comment here. Auntie Sandy, put up a poll in CMR to see how many Caymanians have experienced a dismissal from that school. Dismissal or discrimination? So listen, folks. Does it happen at other schools? Yes. Does it happen other places in the world? Yes. But when we are focused on Prep, because we've gotten yet another letter, and I can tell you, right? Let me just go back, because I don't want people to think that I'm unfairly picking on Prep or whatever, this or that. Remember way back when I did a whole show, multiple shows, in fact, on, let me just find it here, on CIS. You see, people's memories are selective. And this is what I love about, I don't have the best memory in the world, but this is what I love about the Cayman Islands, and what I love about our website, even social media, is a lot of times I can go back and show you definitive proof of where I don't have prejudices like this across these lines. So we have reported on CIS before. In fact, when CMR got started, one of the first really, really controversial stories that we carried was when a parent of CIS, Cayman International School, had a house party, and you know, the rich kids are allowed to go there and drink at the party, and the child ended up in the hospital. Remember all that? We were the only media house in the Cayman Islands to actually cover that story. The child almost died. And to be very, very clear, those little kids at the time, CMR was fairly new, They ganged up. They tried to gang up on me. They tried to gang up on CMR. We were having shows then. I think then it was only twice a week. And they were jumping on the show and they were going on and on. We had an editorial that was written by a parent. We had multiple stories that called out and named Kathy Williams from Williams Squared as being the offending parent. And let me tell you how privilege works in this country. So back then, see all the stories here I'm going to show you guys. They believed CMR was a nobody and they were in control and they could do whatever they wanted to do. So when we reported this back in 2019, right? Privilege in Cayman, teen overdoses at a house. Go and read this one. This is a good one to read. Silence is complacency. Y'all need to read this because it's this kind of privilege. We even have the show link here. I hope the show link still works. Let me see. Maybe not. We probably have to find it. They move stuff all the time. But there's the story. Privilege. We've been talking about it a long time. And we talked about it in relation to CIS. So for those of you who do not pay attention, nobody is picking on prep. This is the reality that we lived in, that we continue to live in. All right, these year 10 students. I can tell you some of them were trying to find out where I live because they were going to come and TP my house and all sorts of stuff. I said, let them little bitches come. Because if I grab one of them, they're going to find out about TPing, all right. They're going to get a good old-fashioned Cayman ass in, and then the police can be called. My phone working, so I don't know why some people can't get through. Morning caller, you're calling direct, so I don't know what's going on with the phone lines. Hello? Uh-oh, I can't hear. Oh, hold on. Hello, caller?
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, ma'am.
How are you?
Not too bad. How you doing?
Well, actually, I tuned in late, but I know you're talking about racism or perhaps
it's a combination of privilege and racism, and
right.
But we're talking about Cayman Prep more specifically.
It all goes together.
Yeah, it
all goes together. And while you might be focusing on Cayman Prep,
yes, like I said, it's all over.
It's all over this island, and the reason that I suppose that Cayman Prep is the focus this morning is because there was some incident.
Well, we had another letter from another parent again.
Oh, okay. All right. I was going to say that has come to the forefront because it's not for lack of it happening. And sorry. But I'll tell you something, Sandra, and I say this to people in Cayman and to people of color, even living overseas. I have family that live in the U.S. I have family that live in England. They were born in England. They grew up in England. They don't know anywhere else. And they have told me horror stories about how they were treated. Sorry. They're biracial. One parent is white, one is black. And they told me that, back in their time, it was in the early 60s and stuff, how they remember the people marching through the streets with the Union Jack, and they would chant and say, "There's no black in the Union Jack." Okay? That was England. One of my cousins was ganged and beaten just for being a biracial child. That's England. All right? Then I have family that live in the U.S., and, when I say to them, I don't like this place, it's too racist, and blah, blah, blah. And then they say to me, I've never experienced racism here. I said, really? I said, let me ask you a question. You think because they don't look you in your face and call you a nigger that they ain't being racist? Do you? No, I'm straight up. So one day we were this was in Boston, and we were in JCPenney. We were purchasing stuff. We were the people next in line to pay for our stuff. The cashier was, I guess they like to be called African American. So let me stick with that. And so these two white women came up, holding stuff in their hands. Clearly they came to do an exchange. And so They then decided that, we were nobodies, so they would just cut in the front of us. And the poor cashier, she was looking, and I said, "Excuse me," and you have a lot of Russians that live in Boston. They happen to be 2 Russians, and so I said, "Excuse me." I said, "We're next," and it's like you were ignoring me. And the cashier, she was frightened. She didn't know what to say. I realized then these are marching orders that they have. Oh, well, you deal with the white people first. Anyway, so I said to the cashier, I said, "Let me tell you something. And I kept saying to these 2 women, I said, "You are behind us. We were next." But they just kept bypassing us. So I turned to the cashier and I said to her, I said, "If you deal with them before you deal with us, I will not purchase the stuff today." Like I said, she looked like she was frightened. And like my cousin's, like she clearly hadn't dawned on her yet. So I just took my stuff. I put it on the counter. And I said to my cousin, "I will be outside when you are finished," because it looked like she was proceeding to buy the stuff. Now, unfortunately, I had put on a pair of slippers in the store, cut the tag off, and I had the tag in my hand to pay for them. And then I walked out the door, and because I was so angry, and I said, "Oh my God, they can send the people who said I stole their slippers." So when I came back in now to pay for the slippers, my cousin said to me, "Here, French, I paid for your stuff." I said, "No, I don't want the stuff. So you can make them credit. I don't want the stuff." I said, "Tell them, make the 2 white people pay them for the loss they just made." I said, "Imagine they came in here to do an exchange, but they felt they were more important than us who were purchasing stuff." And the cashier clearly can't say a word, otherwise she'll be out of a job. And you could see she was sort of relieved, like she realized I understood the position she was in.
Yes.
Anyway, after that, I said to my cousin, I said, "No, are you going to tell me that you still haven't experienced racism here?" I said, "It's done in all different ways. They don't have to call you a nigger to let you know they're being racist towards you. This is how it is done. It's like when you walk into a restaurant and they place you at a table in the back next to the kitchen. What do you think that's all about? You can't have a table by a window where you can look out, or a table where you choose to sit." I said, "That's racism. That's what it's all about. You have to recognize it. They're not going to say straight out in the words you are familiar with, but they will show you." So
Thank you.
Same thing is happening right here, because those people have brought their behaviors here. And might I say, and I find it very frightening, what I have noticed is the majority, and I'm speaking about the Americans now, the majority of Americans that we have here on our island, they are the people with that same mentality. And I find that very frightening.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, my dear. Thank you. So Jim says, yes, Miss Brenda, as a light-skinned individual, I was called the N lover growing up because I preferred people of color. It was hurtful, hateful, and disgusting. Racism just shows ignorance. And to be clear, he's not light-skinned as in an African-American light skin. He is a white person. And he's saying because he wanted to have diverse friends and he preferred people of color, he was called an N lover. Horrible. So let's go back to this. This is a screenshot from the article back in 2019. And you see what I said then in this article. Having money and influence on this island has created a shocking culture in Cayman's private schools, similar to the Lord of the Flies. Parents are well connected, have lots of money, and as a result can buy their children out of most situations. There's a huge degree of complacency, and it's well known that parents are supplying children alcohol at these functions. There's no consequence for these children at all. Indeed, CMR has done some preliminary research, and it appears that children whose parents are well connected to the police and judiciary often face no consequences for bad behavior. Right? Just weeks before that, we received a tip about children being arrested for drug possession at a local private school Now, the seniors at that private school are all being subjected to drug testing. Not a word of it was mentioned to any local police through any local police reports. Now, here's the other part of this story, and you guys will remember this. This is the reality. I remember talking about this on Radio Cayman the following day, because what's his name? Sterling said to me, oh, you're speaking out on all these issues. Are you ever afraid of reprisals? And I said, well, what are they going to do to me? I'm no longer worried about the jobs at the Maples and Calders of the world. So what are they going to do to me? Well, Kathy Williams showed me what she could do. See what the update said? Several days after the publication of the story, and an editorial submitted by another parent with familiar with the Williams Squared family, a family member of CMR was terminated from his job. She went to my husband's, and let me tell you something. One thing about Marlon is he takes his work seriously. This is a man who puts in, he will come home and log in and continue to work. He'll work on vacations. He takes his work seriously. You would want a worker like him. And you know what they did? She walked in, and at first his boss didn't want to tell us, but the law requires you to give a reason for termination. Hi, Miss Julie Mango. So they thought we were fool until I sent Malcolm that email, and I said, per section so-and-so of the labor law, you have to give a reason. He verbally told him and then would not put it in writing. That Kathy walked into his office and said, I'm going to cancel my contract with you if you don't fire Marlon. Nothing to do with his work performance, because he was doing such a great job at work that Kathy and her husband, can't remember what her husband's name is now, were referring him to their rich little friends up in Watercolors and this place that, oh, he's the best one. Anytime they had a job at Williams Square, they did not even want Malcolm, the white guy who owned the company and running the operations. They didn't want him coming. They specifically requested Marlon, because they knew that when Marlon came out, their problem would be resolved, and he wasn't leaving until the problem was resolved, because he's a good, excellent worker. And she still walked in there with no consideration for the fact that this man actually had a child to feed and a wife, and said, fire Marlon Hill, because his wife wrote an article that made me look bad. Not that it was erroneous, not that it was defamatory, not that it wasn't true, because they would have lawyered up. None of that. Just fire him, because that's the only way we can get to her. Well, praise the Lord. Where's my hallelujah button?
Praise the Lord.
Not one day did I go without food in my belly, full to the brim, because of this decision. And poor Marlon was unemployed for a hot minute. But this is what these people will do. If they can't come for you, they're going to come for your family members. And that bitch, Kathy Williams from Williams Squared, God gonna make you suffer. I know that for a fact. You have done wrong to too many people. But that's okay. I remember not long after that, I saw her, and it took everything in me to not walk over to her and show that Georgetowner. Show her what a Georgetowner is really all about. And I said, no, Sandy, be bigger than that. Because you the one, regardless of how this go down, you the one who the police can be coming to, not her. Yep. Gave them an ultimatum. And you know what is so funny? She gave them an ultimatum, get rid of him, or we're going to cancel the contract. And it wasn't no big time contract, 5%, 10% of their business. But here's the funny part. They ended up canceling it within 6 months anyway. So he lost his best worker, the worker that when the company was making no money, and he said, oh, we're not making any money. Do you guys mind, taking extra days off so that the company can just stay afloat? The only person that went in and volunteered to do that was Marlon, was my husband. Taking time off and not getting paid for it, not getting compensated for it, just so the company could be in a better financial position. And that's who they let go after 5 years of being a good worker, not a single complaint, no issues, his right-hand man, because of Kathy Williams. And that bitch still turned around and canceled the contract on him anyway. I wonder how Malcolm slept at night knowing that, because you can't trust certain people because they don't stand on principle. Going back to the point, How many stories have I not written about other schools and other institutions? I don't play favorites with anybody. So when you get in your feelings, your hand is like, oh, what you talking about Cayman Prep? Your hand again, I challenge you. Based on the other times I've talked about other people, here's an editorial about privilege and parenting in Cayman around this same situation. Go back and read it. This is from one of the parents there. I love this quote: responsible parenting is not a crime. Responsible parenting is the most valuable tool of our society. Go back and read it. It's lengthy. Ooh, honey child, that's a long read, but go back and read it. It is worth a read because same issues are happening now. When I call out people like Jason Howard up here, again in 2019, the privileged Karens and Kevins of the world who come here with not even a pot to piss in, but want to abuse and take advantage of Caymanians. Not on my watch. Zosha, just yesterday, I went into a place to get some lunch, and there was a person there who used to work with her, and they gave me the biggest squeeze, the biggest hug. They said, Miss Sandy, thank you so much for what you did the other day with Zosha. You have no idea what a bitch she is and how she's made Caymanians' lives miserable. Thank you for speaking out, because now she knows that at least somebody's going to remain silent as she's out here trying to be a tyrant to other people. I said, really? Yeah, that's right. When they had the teacher who was on OnlyFans and working at private school, CMR was the only one who wrote about that too. So I'm not playing favorites with anybody. You do good, you'll get acknowledged for it. You do wrong, you'll get acknowledged for it. Cayman Prep, I'm begging you. There's too many people writing in about you for there not to be some merits to their complaint. This one says, good morning, Sandra. Prep is so prejudiced that my niece had to take her son, who's Black, out of the school because the teachers and the kids were so prejudiced. Sent him to the USA to a boarding school, and he just graduated from high school in California with honors. They hate Caymanians and Black people. Really? This other person says the caller earlier is part of the problem regular Caymanians face. It's a reality that there's racism in our schools, different strokes for different folks. The school didn't change since Aiden left. He was simply oblivious to the problems there. Another person says Aiden was a stellar student, so Prep knew he'd do well moving forward, so they wanted that credit. Had Aiden gone to John Gray, he would have had the same academic results. You're 100% right about how they maintain their academic standards. Complaint after complaint after complaint. Somebody says, child, I went there way back when. This is not nothing new. This has always been the undercurrent at Prep. It's time for change. It is time for change. Prep, I'm asking you, and the thing is, it starts with the leadership of the organization. Because if you don't have leaders that are committed to being genuine and honest and engage in genuine and honest discourse with parents, with the administration, certain behaviors should not be tolerated. If a teacher hears a racial joke and they have the nerve and audacity to laugh at that student, right in the student's face, you can imagine how that little Black boy felt. About you gonna be running from police and you sitting there laughing, that should be immediate termination. When you are committed, this one on Instagram says they rejected my Caymanian daughter for lower test scores after testing her at 6 years old. My son had been there for 3 years prior, so she would have had priority placement. She's not unintelligent either, just not up to par with the ridiculously high standard of cookie cutter children. Meanwhile, still having special needs students in the school, something's not right. Well, they're not gonna have special needs children that, they still don't think that they're gonna be able to help, because I'm telling you, a lot of them get crossed off the list very, very easily as well. So Prep, you can't, and you and your parents and all the rest of this person says, same person, Cayman Offshore Adventure says, all Prep cares about is looking like the top-notch school by only accepting the best testing students. Meanwhile, the behavior from the children in the school is terrible. You can't fix and address any of these concerns, okay, if you can't be honest about it. So this is what I'm saying now to Cayman Prep. You have to have a no tolerance policy. You need to make sure your educators understand. They laugh at a student, they go on with that kind of behavior, you're terminated. Simple as that. No, there's no excuse for this. When parents come to you, you've got to start taking the complaints of the parents more seriously. Yeah, Neil Williams, yeah, that's his name from Williams Square. Child, please. They've had the easiest ride to being millionaires in Cayman. Another bunch that came here with not a pot to piss in, going around telling people about she started and owned EK Trade, when in fact she was just working there as a salesperson. Neil and her would be lying down on the beach naked and snorting cocaine. Yes, I heard all the stories, and fornicating all day. So much so that the Jeep was parked in the same spot for so long that the grass, you know how you can only cut around it? The grass was growing up underneath the police Jeep because he wasn't doing nothing. So they came here, him as a police recruit, and had the best luck and the best job opportunities, and they just went from one to the other. Somebody said she's the original riffraff. Yes, that's her and him. And now they can afford to live in $1 million home and think that people don't remember who they are and what they're all about. Yeah, I tell her, don't cross my path too often, because I tell you what, I've not forgotten what you did to one of the most amazing people in the world, because Marlon is he would give you the shirt off his back. That's the kind of person he is. I'll do it too, but I'll also box you the fuck down. He not like that. He let people abuse him, not me. So she is very lucky. And every time I go to Thai Orchid and I see that husband, child, my eyes just be like, Sandy, you've come too far. You're living your best life now. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Don't do nothing to put yourself in trouble, because they're not even worth it. Skanky riffraff, not even worth it. Because they were doing wrong by children. And I had the nerves to call it out. And you know what's so funny is the little children, I'll never forget, the children at CIS got all up in arms about it. And they were like messaging me and trying to troll me. And there's a couple of them I had to put in their place. I remember one executive from DART, I called her about her son. 3 o'clock in the morning, this little bitch messaging me. And I sent her an email. I went online, looked up her email, and I emailed her. And I said, talk to your son, because she replied back. First thing in the morning, she said, you will never hear from my son again. And you better believe I haven't. Another one posted his son up. I'm going to go get a lawyer to write you a letter and this, not. I said, do I look like I'm afraid of lawyers? I said, instead of getting and paying a lawyer to write me, what you need to do is be more present with your son and check his phones and know what your son is doing. Why is he cussing me out and sending me these messages defending Kathy Williams? Your son is a child and he should act like one. You say, y'all don't know nothing about me putting these little privileged white children in their place. Y'all only know when I did it to the little black girl from John Gray. Because y'all, again, have short memories and you think, oh, Sandy, when they call it the little black girl. No. Any child who approaches me like they're an adult, they're going to get treated like a fucking adult. So don't come to me. And when the parent came to me, he got a lawyer up, I said, go ahead and waste your money on a lawyer. What you better do is go take some parenting classes. Because him and the wife is going through a bad separation, divorce, breakup, whatever. I said, your child needs you. And you need to tell your child to stop messaging me. So after he went and checked the messages, because he did not even know, but yet he coming at me. When he went back and checked the messages, he had to come back. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, good morning.
Let me finish the story, then I'm going to come to you, honey child. Then he had to come back and apologize to me. And I said, yeah, you better find your apology. So all these little kids from CIS were ganging up on me. And you know, the irony of it is years later, a lot of those children would come back and apologize. Oh, Miss Sandy, yeah, you know, you cool and whatever. And I said, listen, it was never your place to get involved in this conversation. Kathy is a big adult woman. And the fact that she was allowing you guys to drink liquor in her house, knowingly, not supervise you, I said, that's against the law. And that is not someone who's your friend and who cares about you. That is a parent who don't give a shit. Because the same way you guys are sitting there unsupervised and she's providing you liquor, next thing you know, the cocaine flowing. The girl almost died. Her father was head of Scotiabank. They moved back to Bermuda, right? What if that girl had died in her house? What if one of you young ladies get sexually assaulted or raped because the young man drunk up in on drugs and whatever, and Kathy Williams allowing it to happen up in her house? There's so many things that could put those children in problems. So I told him, I said, don't come for me because you think you're privileged, that don't mean jack to me. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning. How you doing?
Not too bad. How are you?
All right, ma'am. Like I said, it's been happening for a long time, you know? So it's sort of like the same reason why some parents don't allow their kids to sleep out. But it's, you know, it's sort of like when you invite or you allow people to come into your home, things change, right? So that's where we're at here in this beautiful place here because they bring it here. They bring it here. They bring the nastiness and the mindset like cancer. They destroy, cancer destroys. So that's how it is. Yeah, it's nice in the beginning until they get where they want to go or where they want to reach. And then you see who they are. You see their colors.
Yeah.
So it's just like what you said, corporate. The other day you touched on all of these places and workplaces. It's going on. This is it. We need to wake up.
That's right.
This is it.
Yep.
And
not talking about it is not the solution. Pretending it don't happen, pretending it doesn't exist is not how we're going to get to a better place as a community.
Well, you speak a lot about mental health. That's why a lot of people like this, because people have been suffering in silence for the longest time. And, where you going to go? How much people get up and go to work in an environment, in a place that they're not happy because of all of these things,
Yeah, so true.
It is like that.
Very sad,
you work
but true.
so hard. Yeah, you show up every day to school, meaning work, but then you don't get what due to you.
Thank you, my dear.
Right.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Listen, folks, we got a lot of issues here for such a small little island. I have hope because I know that despite these issues, we still have a lot of diversity. We still relatively more or less get along, but these issues are simmering. And my point is this: before they get to the point where they boil over and then we have bigger issues because of this divide, why don't we try to address it? This is my desire. This is my wish. Why not address it? Okay? Talk about it. Put it out in the open. Come up with a plan, Cayman Prep, on how you're going to address this. And I'm not talking about a cover-up plan. I'm not talking about a PR plan. Dig in and see what is really going on. Talk to the parents at your school. And you will see that there are a lot of issues there. And it's not just the dark-skinned Caymanians that are suffering. It's a lot of them. I've got family members whose children go to prep, and because the spouse is a white guy from Ireland or the UK, whatever, they must have thought that they would get a different treatment, but their children are suffering the exact same way. It doesn't matter to some of these people. You all need to stand up. And regardless of what position you take about this latest editorial, you don't have to agree with what the woman said, right? You have to respect her standing up. Now she says, well, she's able to stand up now because she took her children out. She's done. Right? But go and read what she has put in here with an open mind. She says, my confidence in the school's direction and ethos has steadily deteriorated. This woman is not a fool. You can see that this was a well thought out and well written piece. Uninspiring and monotonous math lessons delivered via White Rose, an online resource. Okay? Forced use of Oak Academy content in all subjects and the replacement of hands-on science and social studies with passive screen-based learning. Gone are the days of experimental, joyful, and creative education. Children now spend hours copying content word for word from slides with minimal interaction or creativity. I mean, there seems to be a lot of detail in what this parent has written for me to not believe that this has some merit to it. The manner that some of the assemblies are reportedly being used. Ms. Strand has used assembly time to publicly single out students who've misplaced items such as hats or water bottles, that called up individually to collect their belongings in front of the entire school. She has allowed or even encouraged classmates to express their frustration, telling them that due to these forgetful individuals, the whole class has lost out on house points. All these things. Go and read what this mother has said, because she's given very concrete examples of what she says are her concerns. So don't be too quick to dismiss it. Read it and take it in. Cayman Prep. I don't know who the hell Miss Strand is, but I can tell you a lot of people have complained about the direction of the school having gotten even worse than what it was before she arrived. Take some stock in that is what I would suggest. Have a coming to Jesus moment where you really look at yourselves objectively, engage with your parents, get real feedback from them. Parents, it is your obligation. It's fine to write CMR and to get the conversation going. My child doesn't go there, so there's there are limits on what I can do, what I can achieve. If you want a change, you've got to push from the inside out. The mass exodus of you guys leaving that school really isn't going to fix the problem. It's going to probably make it even worse. And I get it, because you're sitting here going, Sandy, it's a question of me protecting my children, their mental sanity, their well-being. God knows we don't need any more suicides amongst young people. I understand and I get that. Staying and fighting is not always easy. And sometimes it's the correct thing to do is just to leave. I understand. But you've got to fight for change too. Okay? Boy, Cayman Prep. I don't know what to say. But if y'all are thinking this is just CMR, somehow upset with y'all or picking on you or whatever, you got a lot of issues. Go ask them how many people have left in the last 5 years, and to break that down for you. And you're going to be surprised that the evidence is there. The evidence, folks, is there of a much deeper issue that is happening. I wish you all the best of luck. It is summer break. So I don't know what changes will be made at the school, if any at all. They talked about how her public image is carefully curated, regularly appearing in school newsletters and photographs with children, creating an illusion of presence and engagement. However, this does not reflect the reality experienced by students, staff, and many parents. At the year 6 Leavers Assembly, only 2 children raised their hands when asked if they would return to visit her at the school, despite the principal offering threats as incentives. This, more than anything, was a painful indicator of how far the school spirit has fallen. You need to listen. Cayman Prep, isn't Debbie McLaughlin, isn't she still there as director or something? You guys have got to listen. Stop putting your head in the proverbial sand at Cayman Prep. It will not end well for you, because you can't do that and expect there not to be a fallout academically as well. That's only going to sustain you for so long. My God, something has to be done. Ms. Brenda says, I hope that Minister Anglin will listen to these parents and deal with them accordingly. My question is, are we still subsidizing these private schools? Because that's when government has an obligation. If we're not subsidizing them, then I guess we don't have an obligation. But if we are, and they're getting government funding in order to take Cayman children, which they really don't anyway, then folks, the minister should definitely do something about this too. He needs to have a sit down with Miss McLaughlin, Miss Strand, and whoever else, the church board and whatever else is going on over there. That's all I can say on the issue. I hope for their own sake and for the sake of a lot of children that they get it together, because God knows our children need good educational environments, you know. They need a chance. And we don't have the capacity. And a lot of the other schools, if something were to happen to prep, that's a lot of children that would have absolutely nowhere to go. So please get it together. All right, folks. My apologies for going into overtime. Look at that. G's on peace. I got a lot of work to do this week, going on holiday on Friday. Remember, I'll be gone all of next week. But tune in tomorrow morning at 5:30. Of course, Sabrina Speaks is on this evening at 5 o'clock. Tune in this evening at 5 o'clock. Tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. I'll be back here, God's willing. And again, big shout out to all of you who participated and called into the program. We had quite a few phone calls, and appreciate your contributions. You know, I think for where I sit, all I want is for Cayman, and this includes our companies, government, private sector, to be the best place for Caymanians and everybody else. We have to come together to make this happen. Right? What else can I say? Hopefully, you guys will see the need to address this in a forthright and honest manner. That's all I can say. All right, folks. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. You guys have a fantastic Wednesday afternoon. It's Hump Day Wednesday. And Sabrina had a great show yesterday with Mr. Woody Foster. I caught some of it. It's always such a delight to listen to Woody. He's just so calm, you know, and he said some things yesterday that really struck me, like the good work ethic that his father instilled. And he talked about, listen, his father was a nice man, but he also cracked that whip on them when they didn't do what they needed to do, and made sure that they knew that there'd be consequences for bad behavior. So, you know, we all have to do, better as members of the community, as business owners, as parents. You know, you're on the PTA. We all have a responsibility to do our part. RR says we are what we tolerate. Racism is an issue. We allow people into our country who don't respect the people or the culture. And folks, that has got to stop. Straight. All right. Thanks again, my good people. We will see you guys tomorrow morning. I'll be tuned in this evening at 5 o'clock for Sabrina Speaks. I think this evening she's going to be doing some breast cancer. The Breast Cancer Foundation is going to be on, talking about a number of things. I think they've got some prizes and stuff to give away as well. So make sure that you tune into that. All right, folks. Until this evening and tomorrow, please have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels and visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.